go? How did it go? Okay, why didn't that happen to me? Okay, one call. I mean, that happens a lot. I was telling Megan in the bathroom, I said, I really have done this at least 100 times over the years. Even in 2005, in Orlando and Phoenix, when the market was really crazy, screaming hot. And I did my boot camps in those locations on purpose because I was told it's not possible here. And I said, I love a challenge. So we're going to do it there. And sure enough, we got, deals in those markets as well. It doesn't matter how hot your market is, you can get deals. So great. So your first one you called, you got them. Tom, what'd you do?
I tried to go down the list of questions.
Okay.
As I got to whether or not they had a garage, he said no, but there's plenty of space for a garage, and he had papers from the city of what he could build. And even though there's space for a 2.5, he could be allowed to build a 2 for boundaries next to the neighbor or something like that.
Okay.
And then...
So he starts telling him he could build a garage. Well, no tenant's going to build a garage, so that's an indication right there. He's thinking...
Well, and then he said, I've been thinking about possibly selling it, and I put the sign out on Wednesday, so you're my first call.
Wow. You got that? That's what we want. Okay, that's a more normal type of, or 1 out of 3 calls you would be like that. Okay, that's awesome.
He was renting it, and their last month was June, so...
Okay, so he is looking to really sell it, but he's willing to rent it, so bingo. Okay, so what are you going to do next?
I'm here till Sunday.
Good.
He has his brother visiting from out of town, so he said he wasn't available for the weekend. So we...
Monday or Tuesday?
Or Tuesday night at 5:30.
Perfect. Okay, tell him, don't sell it till I get there. Okay, good. Awesome. Who else had luck? Joe, talk to us about this. Hold on. Our 15-year-old made a call. And?
I made the call and set up an appointment on Monday or Tuesday.
So the seller said yes.
Yeah.
Were they? Yeah, to a 15-year-old. Did he even think to ask you how old you were and violate that fair housing law? He didn't say, obviously he couldn't tell your voice, right? He couldn't tell that you were really young. So you did a really good job then, apparently. Wow, that's cool. Well, you guys know my book starts out by saying a 14-year-old kid can do it, you can too. Right? That's my little story of this. And it was a father-son team, and Charles was telling me that he remembered that story and brought his son. Yeah, it starts in that book. And anyways, it was this story where they were at an event of mine. They ended up, it was a Sunday. It ended on the Sunday. They bought my my lease option course. Then they went home. The kid, I hope you don't mind me calling you a kid, young man. But he went to school on Monday. During school, started circling the for rent ads in the newspaper and in Craigslist. And he was making calls after school. And he got one. And the seller said yes. And he said, crap. No, I mean, he didn't say crap, but I'm sure he thought crap. That's probably what you just did, didn't you? You're like, okay, no bad words, but that's the worst word you'll hear me say about it. So he goes crap, and so he put Dad. And so anyways, it ended up being that they met this other gentleman who lived in this area where the property was. And he had also bought my course, so they were both interested in options. And they called the gentleman and said, hey, we've got this deal up there. Could we flip it to you? And the gentleman said, absolutely. And he gave this 14-year-old guy $500 for the lead. So not bad for an afternoon's work for a 14-year-old kid, right? So today I told them the rest of the story. I said, well, the rest of the story is, and I didn't put it in my book because the book was already ready before I found out the rest of the story. The 14-year-old kid was so impressed. I mean, this gentleman was so impressed by this 14-year-old kid and that he made these calls and that he got this lead and he was so into this business. It's very unusual. Okay, so this is awesome. And that he was so into this business that he partnered with this kid and gave him 50% of the deal. And it ended up they each made $11,000. Yeah, so it was really cool. And he said that got him inspired to pay for his own college through lease options. And I don't know whatever happened beyond that, but we were talking before class about that and saying this would be such a great opportunity for you to start an education IRA and do lease options right through it. And you should see John Bowens if you don't have one set up, because that is was John in here? Oh, John's not in here right now. He's probably out there. But it is a phenomenal way to pay for your future college, you know? I mean, it's not that you really need college to do this, because you really don't, okay? But it's kind of good to have it, and especially if you can get it paid for free or, you know, like tax-free. How's that, you know? Be kind of cool. If you could do a few deals yourself and pay for your entire education, wouldn't that be sweet, Dad? Yeah. Unfortunately, my twins just didn't like real estate that much. Anyways, they did go to my boot camp once.
They did get into it, didn't they?
They went to my boot camp. Okay, they graduated.
The whole story.
The whole story?
Well, I mean, a 2-minute version.
Okay, the 2-minute version is my children, I have twins, boy-girl twins. So they go to college, they graduate from college, and about 2 months later, they got a little freaked out that maybe it was going to be a little rough out there. They didn't have jobs yet. So I got the phone call. Mom, can we come to that boot camp thing you have? And both of them, independently, they didn't live in the same city, they both called me and said, could we go to your boot camp? And I said, are you serious? Why do you want to go? Well, we've really decided that maybe that's a good idea. And I said, oh, it took you till you're 22 to figure that one out? Okay, you could come to my boot camp. So they come to my boot camp, and they're all excited and everything, and then anyways, they both got jobs right after that. So instead of, you know, making a lot of money doing these deals, they are working, and they love doing what they're doing. So I don't know if they'll ever get into real estate, but anyways, so yeah, is that the whole story?
Well, I thought they got into it.
They started getting into it,
I thought they were taking
and I started recording all their calls, and I did these calls with them, and I started with actually I do share that with my students, the phone calls and me coaching my kids to do it, but yeah, they really never got into it enough. No.
How did that boot camp they got started?
No, they got a job.
They'll be back.
So yeah, they might be back. Yeah, you're right. So yeah. So who else got some calls? Who else? Okay, tell us about them.
Well, we did 5 calls, and we had 2 yeses.
5 calls and 2 yeses.
And
that's my percentage.
one of them was a message, so 2 no's, 2 yeses, and no message.
So 2 no's, 2 yeses, and a message.
Yeah. One.
I'll call that 50-50 because you only got 4 people on the phone.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that helps my average a little. Thanks, Mike.
One of them was looking to sell, and he lived in it, and he's been leasing the last 5 or 6 years, and then the guy got a job transfer.
Did you guys hear that? Okay, hold on then. I'm going to let him say this in the mic just because it's longer than I can repeat.
So he lived in it for 12 years, and then leased it for 5 to 6, and his tenant wanted to buy but got a job transfer out of state. So he's been trying to sell it for the last 3 or 4 months with a realtor, has been unsuccessful, gave his realtor a week, and then
Chop.
yeah, it was a friend of his, I guess. So so he said, and he lowered his price and had a bunch of walkthroughs. The guy is actually in commercial real estate, so for him this is, I guess, kind of a small deal. He told me he owes basically what he's offering it for, so I'm not sure how that'll work out. He's open to lease option, but he said if it's going to be more than a year, then he sounded like he wasn't. He's like, well, if the value goes up, then I don't want to be locked in at what I owe now, and so I don't know how that'll work out, but we're going to drive by. He had to get going anyway, so we're going to drive by and see it.
Okay, so immediately that sounds to me like it's not necessarily real motivated, but it might be a potential for a flip. I mean, a link option. What do you think? Because you can do an option. Okay, I want to talk about a little scenario here. If you decide, let's say he says, well, I want to know if it goes up. Well, it might, right? Talked about that today. I mean, we are kind of in a a little appreciating market right now. Well, if it goes up, there are ways for you when you're the seller and you're doing a sandwich lease option, or when the seller is the person that you step out of the deal, like when you're doing a link option, there is a way to structure that into that option contract that you can get a higher price. Do you guys want to know how?
Yes.
Okay, so here's how you do it. You just have to make sure that your deal is defined and very clear. It doesn't have to be exact. I mean, you don't have to say the exact dollar amount, but you do have to just define very clearly how that dollar will be figured out. It can't just be an open option where, yeah, I'll give you the right to buy it later. No. You have to define the price. That doesn't mean you have to say what the price is, but you have to say how you're going to determine it. It has to be very clear. Okay? So let's say I want to sell it for $100,000 today, or maybe the appraised value at the time of closing, whichever is greater. Everyone with me? So the $100,000, okay, so in your purchase agreement or your sales contract, it says the sales price will be what, you could write $100,000, and then I put in parentheses, or the appraised value at the time of closing, whichever is higher. Appraiser to be selected by the seller. Everyone got that? You can't select the appraiser for their mortgage, but you can select their appraiser to determine the value or the purchase price between the two of you. Because otherwise, if you don't say who's going to select the appraiser, who is? Buyer thought they were, I thought I was, then what? Now we got an issue, right? Because I want my appraiser. No, I want my appraiser. Well, you have to be clear on everything. So always think through every little detail. When you're doing something like this and you're going to put something in there kind of unique, you want to be very clear about that. Make sense? You want to be real clear. What's that?
When in doubt, spell it out.
When in doubt, always spell it out. And if there's even a way that it could be confused or construed to be something ambiguous, make sure it's very clear. Very, very clear. And real estate agents, we know we're supposed to do that, right? We always think about if this and this, then what? Same thing. How is it going to be done? So does that help you with doing that? So that's one way that you guys could do that, where you could put it in there to say, okay, look, what's it worth today? And we could say, Mr. Seller, that it'll be this price or whichever, whatever it appraises for later at the time of whichever is higher. Or sometimes they could split the difference too. So that way the seller gets a little benefit of it and the buyer gets a little benefit of it, right? Kind of a win-win. But again, it's everything in options is negotiable, which makes them really cool. And they can be very simple, but they can also be very complex, meaning there's lots of facets that you can work in them if you really want to. And I don't want to overwhelm you guys. If you've never heard of an option before you got here today, just ignore what I just said. Okay? If you've done a lot of options, then you're going to want to catch some of the more advanced strategies because it is a boot camp, so I want to make sure that you're getting some meat too, right? Some deeper stuff so that all of you walk away with more in your head and more creative ideas of ways to structure deals. Yeah?
I have two questions. The first one, I want to make sure I got this lease option thing down. So when I get someone to do that with the owner, I want to pay as little down as possible, and I want to charge my tenant as much as possible on option.
Yes.
And can you go over maybe one more example like what I just did? Because he was talking earlier about 50,000 something. I didn't get it.
Oh, I don't know if I heard his exact deal that you mean that Jim was talking about?
15% or $20,000, whichever was more.
15%?
Or 20,000.
Oh, that's for his profit. His profit he was talking about. That's his minimum that he would do. For me, my minimum is 40 grand. But my price range is, I'm not in the cornfield. Sorry, don't tell him I said that, okay? Okay? But my price ranges are double his on average. So of course that makes sense that I should have double the profit, right? On those deals. I mean, and if you're in California, it might be double mine. It might be 60 to 80 grand of minimum on a deal. Each of you have to decide what it is that you're willing to do a deal for and what makes sense in your market. You know, so does that, Robert, does that help you a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, he was talking about more overall profit. And there's a worksheet in your handouts. It's called a profitability worksheet. That is part of my course too. That we're not going to be selling you or pitching you anything this weekend except one thing. Okay? And that's going to, but Keith and Shannon and myself and Jim have all packaged together one course together that we're going to offer you, okay? Instead of you having to choose like which way, whatever, and we have a really phenomenal deal for you guys, okay? So if you choose that you want to do options when you leave here, you definitely are going to want to buy that. If you don't already have it, some of you already do, but that's going to have that spreadsheet in there too. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and basically you're going to plug in the numbers of a potential deal. So let's say you're looking at working with the seller for a sandwich lease option. You're going to put in the numbers that you think you're going to offer them on that and what you think you can sell it for, and it will tell you what your profit's going to be on that spread. And if that profit isn't enough and doesn't meet your bottom line, your requirement, then you need to tweak something on the offer before you make the offer. And that's how I do it. I look at it and go, okay, what's going to make me at least 40 grand? And then if that's going to make me 40 grand, then that can be my offer. Otherwise, I wouldn't offer on it. Does that help?
Yes.
So there is a spreadsheet in that handout part that will kind of help you a little bit. Although, obviously, that's only a printout of it. It doesn't have all the calculations and formulas, but.
Page 13.
Page 13 on there. Yeah.
I just want to clarify that point about adding into the contract that, either X dollars or appraised value at time of closing. You're doing that with the seller. Then you have a buyer, they're going to be buying a house, don't you want them to buy it for more than what you're buying it for?
Yes, do I want the buyer to buy the house for more than I'm buying it for? Yes, that's the goal.
How would that work?
What do you mean, how would it work?
In other words, if you are selling it at closing for what its appraised value is, how are you
Right.
going to have a buyer buy for more? Because if it's only appraising at that dollar amount.
Wait a minute. I never said they're going to pay more than it appraises for.
You're combining lease and link.
Okay.
This isn't a link option you're talking.
Okay, wait. I'm teaching sandwich lease options right now, but we did talk a little bit about link options. Keith and Shannon are going to cover that.
That's a link, so that, or.
Well, yeah, when you're flipping it, but anytime you're selling something for more than it appraises for, you can have a problem.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that, right? So I am not a proponent of anything being sold for more than it appraises for, and that is an issue that can arise down the road because there are issues with appraisals. We all know that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Or there can be. I mean, they're getting a little better, I think, right now, but sometimes there's issues where the appraiser might not appraise it for high enough, or there's not enough comps or whatever.
So when you hear a seller say that I want it that dollar amount, that's when you realize that's a link option.
Okay, if a seller says, I want it for that dollar amount, yes, that might be a link option. Yes. If there's not a lot of meat in there, it could be a link option. Even if there's a lot of meat in there, it could be a link option. Just because there's meat in there doesn't mean you're going to want to sit around and wait for it. Okay? I mean, Keith and Shannon, they don't do that. They're not going to do a sandwich lease option. Okay? They're going to flip it no matter what. They might try to get a little bit more meat up front, and a little bit more down, because there might be some more potential in there. But really, that's not their goal. They're going after that option fee, like that 5, 10, 20, 30 grand. What's the most you guys? $25,000. Wow. And they didn't even have to stick around for it. Okay, they just found a tenant buyer, put it together, and done, right? So that's possible for you. So it doesn't, I mean, how many of you think like sandwich lease options are something you'd want to do? How many of you think link options are something you want to do? How many of you want to do them both? Oh, you guys are smart. Man, this audience is good. Not that it's not smart to do both, okay? But I mean, it's cool. Like, that is cool if you want to do both. You're going to, I mean, they have done everything before. Okay, they didn't start with just link options, by the way. They did all kinds of real estate and have a real big background in real estate investing prior to ever doing link options. They just ended up saying that's the lifestyle they wanted in the long run, was just to flip options and not have any tenants, toilets, or properties and crews they had to manage anymore. And they like to travel and go to vineyards and do other things right now. So that's not the lifestyle they wanted with that. Does it make sense? That's why they chose to single it out down to one thing. Okay? Me, I'm kind of a little crazy. I like everything, and I like them all. Okay, question?
How do you, when you're a realtor, licensed, so they got a $30,000 option.
Yep.
How does that fit in with your license? How do you do that compared to listing it with the brokerage?
How do you do that compared to listing it as a brokerage? Okay.
How do you get over the draw?
Okay, I'm going to kind of try to answer this in one way. Okay, first I'm going to answer it as this way. When you're buying a property on an option, like they're the principal. Normally, you would be a principal in the transaction. Maryland doesn't require this. I'm going to talk about normal. Normally, they would be a principal in the transaction. You're going to put your name, your company name on that purchase agreement with the seller. And then you're going to assign and sell that contract to someone. So because you're a principal in that transaction, I didn't really technically sell the real estate. I sold that contract. I sold this. I got a deal here. Do you want it? $5,000? $5,000. Anyone want it? This is an option to buy that house over there. Who wants it for $5,000? That's what I'm selling. So the minute I say do it a different way, then it would be like a commission, right? If it's a commission, if it's like, Teresa, do you want to buy that house over there? It's got, it's a 4-bedroom, whatever. And Charles, you're going to pay me commission. That's a totally different transaction than this. And that's where it gets really confusing for real estate agents. Because we get kind of like, wait a minute, when am I the agent, when am I the investor? You're only the agent when you're representing a seller or buyer. Even if the buyer or seller's you. Does it make sense? Okay. When there's commission involved, I'm the agent representing the buyer. Okay, I'm an agent. If there's a property listed on the MLS and I want to buy it, I'm going to be the buyer's agent. The buyer just happens to be Wendy Patton, right? So I'm going to get paid commission when this buyer buys that house because I'm an agent. Now, if I'm selling a property that I own, I'm going to get a discount or I'm going to get a reduced commission. Am I with everyone so far? Okay. If I'm representing a seller that they want to sell their house and they want to do an option and I'm doing it as a client for a client, like for commission, then I'm the agent and I'm doing it for commission. If it's by owner and I want to do it as an investor, typically you're selling the paper. I don't know, Charles, if that clarified it.
So if I'm the principal,
Should I clear that up in a different way, or is that kind of clear?
Paper sales mean you don't get the commission.
This means you're not going to get commission. There's no commission in this.
yeah, but
Just it's a fee for the contract.
$5,000 piece of
I'm
paper.
selling
It's a-
my contract.
You're selling your
As the
contract
principal.
as a
I have to let
principal.
them know that I am an agent.
Yes.
but I'm not
Oh, yes.
acting as an
Always you have to let anyone know you're an agent. I'm just not an agent in the transaction or for either person.
And you would disclose that in writing.
In writing on the contract.
Okay.
Always. If I'm buying, I'm a licensed agent. If I'm selling, I'm a licensed agent. It's always in the document. Every document I sign, as a matter of fact, it's in my purchase agreement all the time. So I don't forget to put it in there. I have a standard purchase agreement that has that language in there, so I don't forget. Even by owner, I have a standard purchase agreement that says the buyer's a licensed agent, so I don't forget to put it in there.
On that same note, my husband is a licensed agent. On my contracts, I say the husband of this is a licensed agent.
Oh, good. So she discloses that her husband's licensed even if she's not, and that's actually very wise.
What about the LLC since it's a separate entity?
The LLC?
Yeah.
Okay, are you a member of the LLC?
No, but I'm going to be going into partnership with the gentleman that is.
So you're going to be in an LLC, and he's licensed or you are?
I am.
Then you need to disclose it. I do. I over-disclose. Never underestimate that. Over-disclose. It never hurts you to just say you're an agent, ever. I've never not gotten a deal because I'm not an agent. I mean, I am an agent. Hold on, let me have a little more coffee here. You got the idea, right? Okay?
I had a question.
Yeah.
It came up earlier that an option fee can be called a commission if you're an agent. Well, my question is, as an agent, do I have to split that commission with my broker?
An option fee can be considered a commission if you're an agent. And do you have to split it with your broker? If it's commission, yes.
So I shouldn't.
It depends. You got to tell me the deal. Is it a deal where someone's paying commission? Is there a contract that says there's commission to be paid on a deal? Or are you buying something by owner? Because it depends. Which is it?
Well, this would be when I found a tenant buyer, they're giving me the option fee.
Oh, if they're giving you an option fee, that is not considered commission. No, and I would fight that, and I will talk to your broker if they want to fight that one. No.
I think it was Jim that said that. He said we could consider it one or the other. We could call it a commission and just take ourselves out of the transaction.
Who said that?
I think Jim
Oh, he did.
Oh, Jim made a lot. Oh, yeah, you could. Okay, wait, okay, now that's a different thing. Okay, so could I do a deal with a seller or buyer and take the option fee as an agent and call it commission? Could I do that? Sure. If it's in writing saying that I'm going to charge a commission for putting these two things together, it's just different contracts. It's not selling this.
He said he was putting his commissioner option fee on the HUD one, and it was recorded as his,
As a consultant.
as a consultant.
It has to do with the buyer needing that money as credit.
No, I think it had to do with being a sales use option where one person was.
Yeah, he stepped out,
Close to the table on
put his
a
fee on there.
You didn't want to do a quote. No, I think we converted a sandwich to a
You all have to ask him in the morning. We'll have to have him go through that. I don't know what he means by that. But I mean, he might have, does he step out of the deal? Amber, do you know that? Does he step out of the deal?
Yeah, he did a sandwich deal.
And then he puts his whole deal in the middle? Yeah, he can do that. It's just, okay, what he does, he rewrites it all at the end. That's a very complex advanced strategy. Okay, so if you're new, plug your ears right now. Go ahead, come on. La, 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 la. Okay. Yes, you can go back and you can always work with the seller and work with the buyer and say, look, here's the deal, Mr. Seller. You know, there's no reason for two of us to pay title insurance and transfer fees in the state of Michigan. Why don't we just, we're going to redraft the deal between you, and he's going to kind of step out, but in order to get paid, he puts his line item on the HUD, his total profit. Yes. And you can certainly do that. Yes. Sure. Yeah. The consulting fee thing, yeah, you could. I mean, I'm not talking about real estate commission stuff. I'm just talking about, yeah, I don't know how that would go over, but definitely that's a way to do it. Now, I'm going to get back to, I wanted to say one thing, and I know that Keith and Shannon French are going to talk about this as well. There are many states right now in our country that require you to be a licensed agent if you want to sell any of these contracts at all. Has nothing to do with lease options. It has to do with just wholesaling in general. They still consider that a real estate transaction that requires a license.
Is that only real estate or any contract?
Real estate, I don't know about any other contracts. I just know about the real estate stuff because as a broker, that totally appalls me. I really am upset about that. And so there are there's a big issue. Who's from Ohio? Big legislation going on right now in Ohio, if you don't know about that. You have one of the strongest real estate investor boards in the country, in Ohio. And Vena Jones Cox has started and working with some lobbyists and in a court action about that. Because she's very opposed to that as well. She teaches wholesaling. And they even want to penalize people that teach it. Yes, that teach you how to wholesale transactions. So there's some stuff going on in Ohio. But if you're in an Ohio real estate investor group, ask the group leader to find out what's going on at the Ohio level. You're going to want to know that because I can't wait to hear what happens there because that's going to affect the rest of us, right? Now in Michigan, you're supposed to probably have a license to do that kind of transaction. But certainly there's no issue where someone's trying to come down on us, and no one's tracking us down, no one's talking about it. Very few real estate brokers would even know that or understand that. As a matter of fact, if you decide that you want to become a licensed agent, when I tell you about the pros and cons, you're going to email me, and I'm going to, when we talk about it, I'm going to say, when you go speak to your broker, you do not try to explain link options. They won't get it. It's going to freak them out. Okay? Because unless you explain it from a very proper way about how you're selling the contract and not the real estate, they're not going to understand it. Now, my broker in my office, I think he would understand it. We've talked about a few of these things, and I think he'd get it. But if it wasn't me explaining it to him, I'm not sure. Because it is a little bit weird. Okay? This is not mainstream stuff. This is not what realtors do. So just be aware of that. I'm not saying to hide it from them. It's just, I would say that it doesn't need to go through them because it's not a commission transaction. Unless you decide you want to talk to them about it and share all of that. That's totally up to you. Am I being clear here without being trying to... I'm a broker. I'm saying this as a broker that I don't feel that is required or should be required, but I don't make the laws. Okay? And unfortunately, in a lot of states right now, you know what Keith and Shannon are going to teach you, and even probably some of the sandwich lease option stuff, they're going to want you to be licensed. Yeah. Even though it doesn't mean it has to go through your broker, it's just that you have to be licensed to do it. How's that for weird? Okay. Yeah.
When I did speak with my broker about it, he indicated that it would be, I would have to pay commission to the brokerage at the end when it went to
Okay.
seller agreement.
So when it goes to the end, you'd have to pay your broker.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're acting as an agent.
Okay.
Well, you are, if you're an agent.
Yeah, but if you're acting as a principal,
Yeah, if you're acting as a principal, I don't know why, but maybe. I don't know. If it's by owner, I don't know. But that's between you and your broker. Yeah. I mean, the reason the brokers are particular about it is because everything we do, they're responsible for us. So if we're out there doing something that looks bad or is bad or turns out bad, guess who gets the phone call? The broker, because you're licensed under them. So that's why sometimes they want to know the details. And I don't want to get too much into this because I want to get into like how to really make money with this stuff because it's very, very rare any of this stuff's ever going to come up, but we want to address it and, like talk about how to make money. Yeah.
What are some of those states where that would be an issue? Besides Ohio.
I'm trying to think of wouldn't be an issue. Maryland.
I mean, the overall gist is there's about 40 states where you're not going to have any trouble at all. 40 states. Can we name either a list, go out to and find states and say, yes, you can, can't, no. You can ask 10 attorneys in these other 10 states that are questionable. You'll get 10 different versions and 10 different answers.
Yeah.
So you've got to go with what makes you comfortable. But there is no list of states. Texas is a weird state with these.
Oh, very.
Ohio with its legislation, I would just say get your license in Ohio. Illinois is a state, I would say get your license. Virginia is a state, I would say get your license.
Arizona.
Depends if you talk to the North agents, the Real Estate Commission, or the Southern Real Estate Commission. One says get a license, one says doesn't. So there, I mean, really, there's not that many states where it's crystal clear no.
Right.
But it's what you feel good about. You're not comfortable, get your license, period.
Yeah. I personally, I mean, you'll see when I talk about becoming an agent, I think it's a really good thing. Keith and Shannon don't have the need at all because where they do business doesn't even require a license to be a property manager. So they can do some really unique, weird things in Maryland that we can't do most anywhere in the U.S. Okay? And so they don't have a need. They really don't. They were thinking about getting licensed to Louisiana when they moved there, but they kept doing all their deals in Maryland, so it didn't matter to them. So we were talking about it last night, and they said, we just don't really have a need for it. If we start doing if we do deals here, then we'll probably get it. But right now, we're finding still so many deals remote that there's no reason for us to get our license right now. For me, I like it because it gives me a lot of other possibilities. I mean, I refer people all over the country for real estate. If I want to list or buy or sell things that are on the MLS, I do not waive my commission. I take my commission. You know, I have not had to give up my commission. I don't think. If I have, Kathleen, it might be one time in the last couple of years. I don't know. Do you remember if I've ever given up my commission? Yeah, Kathleen does all my offers for me, by the way. It's Kathleen back there. Say hi, Kathleen. So she writes them all up for me, and I don't waive my commission. I take it. So even every little bank-owned property that I buy, I get my commission. So if you're out there buying, why not get commission on all of those deals? I mean, it adds up a lot. You know, when you're talking even a $15,000 home, I'm going to get $1,000 on. You know, so it's a really good thing. Yeah.
Is the real estate agent, once you get your license, is that across the United States or is it per state?
Per state.
So.
And you wouldn't want to pay all the board dues and fees across the country.
So then, when you go to sell something, I thought I just heard you say that you could sell something out of state and still get a big commission.
Yeah, referral. Yep.
Oh, you get a referral.
Yes. Yes, you can get a referral. I can refer anyone anywhere in the country and get a 25% referral. And that's just huge. I mean, everyone knows someone buying or selling somewhere, right? Okay, why not get 25%, right? So that alone is worth it, and just your own deals. Even when you sell a property, if you're a rehabber or you're going to put it back on the MLS, why not get part of the commission? I mean, it's going to save you money. You know, if you do one deal or two deals a year, it's going to pay for all your fees for the whole year. Why wouldn't you want to do it? You know, if you're only going to do like flip and option stuff, you may not need it. But I like having it just for the comps too. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm a control freak. I want to see I want to see the comps. I want to be able to have access. If I want to look something up, I want to look it up. You know, and I want to be able to have that access to, instead of waiting on a real estate agent. My first couple deals I told you about that I bought on credit cards, I was waiting on another agent to show me properties. And I had to work around his schedule and when he could meet me and wait for him to show up and wait for him to pull the comps, wait for him to write the offer. I don't like that. I mean, that's just me. It might not bother you, but for me, I'm like, I want my right now, you know. I want to get in there right now. Give me the lockbox. I'm right here in front of the house. I want in that house right now. So, kind of works out. Okay, so let's talk about getting real estate agents on your team. Okay? How do you get them begging you to buy their listings? Right? And it's real easy when we start talking about how to do this. Now, of course, when the market's hotter, there are less listings that aren't selling. But there are definitely listings that aren't selling, right? Even no matter how hot the market is, there's some houses that are not going to sell in this market. So why would you want a real estate agent to be on your team? Well, I believe that real estate agents control the market. They have 80 to 90% of the listings everywhere in the country on the MLS. So if you don't work with real estate agents, that's fine. You only have 10 to 20% of the market available to you. So if you want to open up your ability to be able to buy more properties, then having relationships with real estate agents is going to be key for you to open those possibilities up for you. And I know even Keith and Shannon, they do a lot with real estate agents.
Absolutely.
You know, which is, it's bizarre to me because I would always say, oh, just do sandwich lease options with real estate agents, not the link options. And they're like, well, we do link options with them. And I'm thinking, I don't think agents would really like that. Huh? Well, they might. I mean, it seems like they're fine with it. So it's just in my head. See, it goes back to my own perception, my issue, my thought process, not what reality is. All right? It's just, it's a windy issue. Right? So they control the market. They don't decide if prices go up or go down, but they do have a lot of the inventory in the palm of their hands. They also are the first person to hear that seller say the dreaded 4-letter word. Real estate agent, if you don't sell my home soon, I'm going to have to kill you. No, rent. I'm going to have to rent it, right? And my real estate agents in the audience, I mean, how do you feel about that? If you have a seller say that to you?
It's a lost listing.
Yeah, it's a lost listing. You're like, okay, great. whoop-de-doo, now I'm gonna get nothing, or wow, I might even get a quarter of 1 month's rent after I pay all the other people involved in this deal. Whoop-de-doo, a couple $100, right? Well, I have a system where I've gotten real estate agents to call me. When they hear the 4-letter word, I've taught them that the 4-letter word is a key word that they need to be listening for, okay? Because when it is, my phone rings, okay? You can get your phone to ring with this. So let me show you how you do it. How do you do it? Well, first of all, I don't know why, but real estate agents like to get paid. Of course, right? We all like to get paid. So I figured out a way to pay real estate agents, all right, for bringing me these types of deals, right? So here's what I do. And I want you to write this down because there's different markets, different techniques, okay? If it's a buyer's market and the market's really slow, that means there's more inventory in the market. Things are selling in a longer time period. Our market was so bad here in Michigan about 4 or 5, maybe 5 years ago. Our average days in the market was over 280 days. Huh? Right, Tangi? 280 days on market. Average. Yeah, okay? So, I mean, it was bad. You hear about everyone else's state and how bad it was. I'm telling you, Michigan, I think got hit the hardest. I really do. Because we started going down way before anyone else did. I mean, the automotive industry started affecting our market way before this whole mortgage fallout happened. Okay? So, and probably most of the Midwest, really. Well, anyways, if it's a buyer's market and things are on the market a really long time, that means now you've got motivated sellers and motivated agents, right? Because no one's getting paid at that point. When it's a buyer's market, I'm willing to pay the real estate agent up to 1% of the purchase price up front for the deal. They'll get the rest when it closes, but I'll give them 1% up front. Now, I'm a licensed agent, so I'm going to explain how this works. If you're licensed, 3%, let's say it's 6% commission, 3% would go to your office, and 3% would go to the listing agent's office. So I'm going to want you to work right with that listing agent, right? Because if you're not licensed, they're going to get all of it. They get 6%. 1 now, 5 later. That's really cool when the market stinks. That you're going to double dip and get something now when your seller's really suffering and they need to do something and you're not getting anything for it, and you're going to have this money at least in the pipeline out there. Now, since I'm licensed, they get 1 now and 2 later. And when they get their 2, my office gets the 3. And when I say an agent gets paid, I mean the brokerage gets paid, whoever they work for. You can't write a check directly to Wendy Patton, okay? It has to go to Keller Williams, Norfolk, where my market is. Does that make sense? You have to get paid through your broker, okay?
What do you mean 1% now? Meaning
1% of the purchase price.
I understand that, but did you start the process of the transaction or not?
Do what?
Did you start the process?
Yes. Well, wait,
because
okay.
If the transaction doesn't go through.
No, okay. If I do an option with their seller, and we agree on a price, and we agree on a lease option deal, and we sign a lease option deal, when it's executed between me and the seller, I give the real estate agent 1%. Now, who's supposed to pay commission? Who am I? The buyer. So I'm not really paying commission, I'm fronting the commission. It's like my option fee to the seller, but instead of it going to the seller, I am making sure it goes to the real estate agent. So my contract says it goes to the real estate agent. Why do I want it to go to the real estate agent instead of the seller? Because why? Because I want the real estate agent to be happy. I need to take care of them because, see, that seller's going to sell me 1 house. That real estate agent could sell me 100 houses over time. Everyone with me? Yeah. Okay, so that's in a buyer's market. Now, most of you are in a seller's market right now. And what I would do now, oh wait, by the way, where does that 1% come from?
That's what I was about to ask.
Tenant buyer. How much is the tenant buyer going to put down?
3.5.
typically 2 to 5%, and I say 2 if it's kind of a weak soft market, like maybe 5 to 8 years ago, it might have only been 2 to 3% when things were slower. Now that things are a little hotter, they might put between 3 and 5% down. At the breaks, who was it? Who was telling me that they're getting too much money down? Yeah, she's like, what do? I'm getting way too much money down. Amy, right? What's that?
No, they're putting 10% down.
They're putting 10% down. Now that's like a problem. No, it can be. I mean, like, I'm kind of joking, but it can be.
No, because of the Dodd-Frank. I mean, I'm happy, but I'm not scared of that.
Right, I would be a little bit scared of 10% down right now, and why would that be? She says Dodd-Frank, maybe, but I'm more concerned that, yeah, Dodd-Frank probably too, but it could look as if it's more than just an option fee. So we discussed one thing that I would do if it was too much money down, I would probably put some in escrow that's refundable at the time of closing if they chose not to buy, and then I would keep what's considered a normal, reasonable transaction, like an option fee if they didn't buy. Make sense?
Now, why couldn't you wouldn't do the owner financing because of the
I won't do any owner financing anymore. No. Because of Dodd-Frank. No. I have some out there still.
I was going to say, because you used to.
I used to do a lot of them. And I still have probably 7 or 8 on my books that people still owe me on, but I won't renew them, I won't. And I tell them, your land contract's coming up soon. You need to get a mortgage. Because of the law, I'm concerned about issues. I would normally extend for anyone, and you would find that about me is I will always extend. Especially if you're paying me, I'll always extend. I mean, I just because I feel like it's fair, it's right. If, you can't get a mortgage right now, and you've been great to me, then I'm going to be great to you. But I can't now. It's kind of causing me a real issue. And the last thing I want is for it to me be the nice guy now, and then I'm the one who's hung up to dry later because I was nice. So I would be cautious on taking 10% down. I think maybe you might take 3, maybe 4 or 5 non-refundable, and then the rest can be set with an escrow company or a title company or holding company or attorney or whoever does. What state are you in? Oh, okay, then that's a title company, could hold it, or your real estate company or whatever. And that would be the refundable part if they don't exercise. But that way it gets out of their bank account right now so that it can be used for their down payment later. Because what will happen if you don't put it in escrow? They will spend it, most likely. It won't be available later.
If those same folks put 10% down with the bank, and they got foreclosed on the bank, that's like giving their money back. I guess that's.
I know, she said, she put 10% down on a mortgage, and they got foreclosed on, the bank doesn't give them any money back, that's right. But that's a mortgage. And this is an option. And I would be real careful not to I just would be careful.
No, I got you. That's why
Now.
I posed that question.
Now, I also might consider keeping all 10% as non-refundable and then later dealing with it. And then later negotiating to get half back or something. Because you may not have to. And if you did, then maybe you negotiate it later. I can't give you any advice on that. I don't know how that would turn out. If it was negative. I have no idea.
How did you?
But I might take that risk.
How did you used to do it when you put the money in?
Oh, how did I used to do it? I take it as all as option fee. Or I would do seller financing.
And when you do seller financing, what
But-
documents do you use?
Oh, seller financing, I would do land contract. And that's what we do in Ohio. Oh, you're, wait, I thought you said Ohio. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, Tennessee, I do not know. But I know in Ohio and Michigan, when you do a seller financing like a land contract, it's almost like an eviction to get someone out. Most other places, it's like a true foreclosure. So 10% down isn't gonna do it for me. I don't want financing because if I have to go through foreclosure, it's gonna cost me way more than that. A true foreclosure. I don't know in your state. You have to get some advice on that, what it takes. So that's why I'd always do the option. Because then it's easy, it's definitely like eviction. And in California, where's my California peeps? It's like a different country. And it's gonna take as long to evict someone as it does to foreclose on someone in Michigan, probably. You know, again, so you know that, so you do want a little bit more down in California because the risk is a little higher that if you can't get, if they decide not to pay, it's gonna take you a little longer to get them out. All right, good, yeah.
What about the possibility of getting your loan originator's license?
To getting your own originator license, you know what? I don't know. I just don't know enough about that. Some people are saying that's good for the Dodd-Frank. I just don't know. I think there's more to it. I don't know. For me, I'm not doing them. I'm going to wait till someone else is the test case and we figure it all out. And it's just not, I just don't want it to be me. So I'm just going ultra safe and making just as much money or more without doing it that way. So that's how I'm doing mine. One more question in the back and then I'm going to move on, okay? Because we're going to hold some questions, okay?
If I'm an investor, and I'm looking for an agent, should I, for example, send a letter out to Keller Williams, asking for an agent who will work with an investor, tell them what's the best investor in the world, what I'm just beginning, and I'll pay 1% up front, and once I tell them that, where's that 1%? When do they expect to get the 1%?
Okay, if you're telling the office that, then they don't know how to get that 1% to that agency. So I'm going right to the listing agent. So I would say that you would want to find those listing agents to go direct, because if you don't go to the listing agent and work with the buyer's agent on these, and there's only 1% down, who's going to get it? Your buyer's agent's going to want it, and so is them. They're going to be 50-50. Now you're talking half of a percent. So now you're going to dilute that whole strength. Now, right now we're in a more of a seller's market. So if you're going to put down up to 3% up front, which is where I didn't quite get to that, right? So if it's a seller's market, you know, you're going to put up to 3% down. You're going to get 3 now and 3 later. In that case, maybe they would split it with another agent. They would have to split that with probably the buyer's agent. So again, they're only at 1.5% in a strong market. I don't know how appealing that would be. Agents are going to have to answer that. That's what I would say. Agents, what do you think? You're the listing agent. Who's my agent? So raise your hands. Okay, would you want them to come directly to you if it's your listing, or would you want to be a buyer's agent for them?
I want them to come to me if that was the case, but what we're talking about is things that are in the market longer than they can't sell. These are our dead dogs that are sitting there.
These are the dead dogs that are sitting there, so maybe anything's better than nothing. Yeah, but the buyer's agent is going to want something on it. I would say, Robert, okay, if you're an agent, you're in the local Michigan market, Robert, raise your hand, and then you guys, you can talk to them, okay? And I would say find someone here who knows, like now we're going to know what we're talking about here, and if they're interested to do that, they would meet you from here. And then they know what they're getting into, and you guys figured out how it's going to work. But at least they'd understand it. Otherwise, I would try to go to the listing agent direct. If you go on Realtor.com and you see something's been there for a while, then there you go, bingo, you can call that agent direct. Okay? All right, I'm going to hold the questions so I can get through this, guys, if you don't mind. Okay, so payment. We talked about how you're going to pay them. Did everyone understand that? So, on a seller's market, I would give the realtor up to 3% down. Why would I do that in a strong market? Because why?
You want to incentivize them to come to you.
Yeah, I want to incentivize them to come to me. That's true. What else?
Well, you're probably collecting a bigger fee up front too, right?
What?
You're probably collecting a bigger fee up front from the buyer.
Yes, I'm going to collect a bigger fee from the buyer up front, usually 3 to 5%. So I'm always going to get my money back. I'm never going to be paying out more than I'm getting in. Everyone with me on that? That's really important. That's how you buy properties without using money or credit. So in other words, and we're going to get to this in a little bit, but I'll kind of give you a little prelude, but I don't want to get too much detail into this. But all of my contracts with my sellers, in the rental agreement, I don't start paying rent and start that contract until I find someone to rent from me. Everyone hear that? Okay. So, no, but if I have I will allow them to leave it on the market. Because I don't think it's fair for them to take it off the market and I'm not committed. I mean, I'm committed, but I'm only committed if I find someone, right? So I believe in it's got to be fair and right for both parties. And if I want a little thing in my favor in that regard, then it should be fair for them to leave it on the market. If it sells, then it wasn't meant to be. But remember, this has already been on the market a long time. Like Steve said, they're dead dogs. They're already been on the market 90 days. So get on it. You know, if you can't sell that sucker in a day or two on a lease option, then you probably didn't put it in Craigslist. You probably didn't even advertise it. Because these things should go like hotcakes right now, if they're priced right. Okay, they should be like hotcakes because there's so much demand out there for buyers that need this type of solution. So you should be able to sell them very, very quickly. Okay? Now, the 1% or the 3%, whatever I pay the real estate agent up front, remember, it's not my commission expense. So what I'm doing is it's kind of like my option fee. It's just that I'm fronting it to make sure it gets to that real estate agent. So in the contract, it'll say that my 3% or $5,225 gets paid directly to Century 21 or Keller Williams or whatever company it's going to go to, whoever they work for, and will be applied directly to the purchase price at closing. So I'm going to get credit for that later. If I'm buying, say, a $200,000 home and I put 3% down at $6,000, I'm only going to owe $194,000 later, less any credits and other fees that we negotiated, right? Because I'm putting $6,000 up front in that example. Same thing with my buyer. If they give me, I might sell to them for say $225,000 with $10,000 down, well, then they're only owe me $215,000. They're going to also get credit for it. We're with me? All right. There's some things you can do to get into the office too, like I think kind of like this, Robert, where you talked about writing a letter to the brokerage. I would think in another way, one of the things that I've done is in my realtor course, I have a PowerPoint presentation that I have used that explains to real estate agents what it is that I can do to help them move their listings. And I think that might even be the next bullet, isn't it? Let me see. Yeah, presentations. Okay, it's kind of like, okay, so there's a letter you can write to the real estate offices, or you can do a presentation to say, this is what I do. If you've got any agents or any listings that aren't selling, let me know. But I will tell you, depending on who opens that letter, it might get thrown away. So my recommendation is to continue to send that letter until you get a response. Tangi, would you agree if you got a letter like that, you're kind of like, okay, but if you keep getting it, you're like, man, someone's got to call this guy.
I think it's better to call or email.
It's better to call or email an agent direct, absolutely. Yep, definitely, because you're going to get, and that's one-on-one. You're targeting that listing, that agent. That is better, definitely. Okay, everyone stand up, stretch for 1 second. Do you put sandwich lease options in a flip entity? Ooh, I don't like flip entities. Short-term capital gains. They are short-term capital gains, but I put all of my sandwich lease options or anything I don't own in one particular company because it doesn't really own any assets. It just owns rights to assets or, the options on an asset. But be careful, I don't call it a flip entity because if you were truly wholesaling a lot of deals and the IRS tags that particular entity as a flip entity, then you might be subject to self-employment also on that. Whoever asked that question, does that answer your question? Did that answer it?
I've got corporate LLC set up, and I've got corporate set up for short-term capital gains.
Okay.
LLC's framed.
I mean, get your tax, preparer's advice on that, but make sure that they're a real estate tax preparer and that they understand what I'm talking about with that how you could get tagged as a flipper,
Well, I expect it to happen. That one become due.
Well, I don't know. Have you guys been tagged as flippers yet from the IRS? Dealers? No. So.
Okay, we're back to recording. We're good.
Yeah. So you just take the cash and put it in your pocket, right?
We did. We take cash in our pocket.
I'm just kidding. Huh? Do you really? We got to talk about this. If that's going to save me about 40%, I think I'm going to start doing more of those. You payroll, okay. Yeah, so you do, so they put it into an entity. What do you guys call that as income?
Yeah, in short, here's how it works. We have one QuickBooks LLC, which is a master LLC, which owns all of our LLCs. So when we flip do a wholesale lease option, that's the entire down payment plus first month's rent. That goes into an escrow account. Then when they sign paperwork and get keys to move to the home, we release the option fee, which is our fee, from that escrow account into our operating account. And release the first month's rent from escrow to the seller, wherever they want it. So for tax purposes, the accountant, the CPA, gets the operating account with all of the income. You can see in the escrow account that we collected 11,000, say, we got 10, and 1,000 for rent went to the owner. So each time it just goes into an operating account, and so we pay income tax on each option fee.
Great. So does that answer that?
What else?
Okay, cool. The other, okay, here's a question. When you suggest $0 on option credits, do you mean rent credits? Yes, I do mean rent credits. A lot of tenant buyers want rent credits. What do you offer instead? Well, one of the things that you could offer instead is just that the purchase price will be a different price if they exercise by a certain time period. You could do that. So if it was $100 a month credit and they exercise in a year, I could say, well, I'll give you a $1,200 deduction if you exercise by such and such date and all your payments are on time. Right. You could do that. Okay. All right, so let's get back to the real estate agent stuff, okay? When you're working with real estate agents, so one of the things you can do is do a presentation in their office. I have a PowerPoint presentation that I use that explains to them how these types of transactions can help their sellers. I should do this in our office sometime, Tangi. It would be interesting. Except most of our stuff is selling very fast. So typically now I would go after a particular agent individually instead of presenting it to an entire office. Although if you present it to an entire office, you do let all of the agents know how you can help them when that opportunity arises. But you got to make it short and quick. The worst thing that you could do is go into a real estate office and start chatting and doing this long presentation. It literally is like a 10 or 15 minute presentation. If you are taking longer than that, you're boring them to death, unless they ask you questions. Now, in a buyer's market, they're going to ask you more questions. In a seller's market, many of them are going to think, why do we even need this right now? Everything is selling, right? So, know what's going on with your audience at that point. The other thing that you can do, how many of you are like, look, Wendy, I'm not like you to stand up in front of an audience. I don't want to do that. Raise your hand if you're like that. Most of you are. 3 of you are not afraid. Be honest here. Bull. Most of you are afraid to pick up the phone. Okay. So tell me how many of you would like really not want to stand up in front of an entire room of real estate agents? Okay. I mean, that's the honest truth. Most of you probably are not going to like that. The other way that you can do it is you take the presentation, and I can sit either with a piece of paper or I can do it on a notebook computer and just meet with them over a cup of coffee one-on-one. That works too. And you want to go after the strong listing agents, the agents that have lots of, listings. But again, you go real quick. How are you going to help them? Boom, boom, boom. Especially when you find out certain ones have lots of listings that are been sitting on the market. That's how you would know who to go after. Okay. You can also call real estate agents and leave them messages. Now, if you have a specific script or you want to kind of leave a thought with them, then call them after hours. And I don't mean after hours meaning, midnight, because it could actually ring to their cell phone, But if you can find out where they have if they have a voicemail box at their office and it doesn't forward to their cell phone, some of them do, some don't. In our office, it depends on the person. I like mine to forward to my cell phone. because I don't always check the messages there, so I want mine to forward. Does yours forward, Tangi? So she doesn't want hers to. She wants it in the box there. So it kind of just depends, which is perfect. Now that I know that about Tangi, I can start leaving her messages at night. See, I'll call her at night. Hey, Tangi, I see your listing has been sitting for a while. And then, is there any chance your sellers might consider something creative? You kind of use the same script we're going to use when we call real estate agents, okay? On that. The other thing is you can use letters directly to them, just like Jim talked about. Direct letters. Hand addressed. Okay, they'll open those. If they come hand addressed to them, they will open those in their office. I can tell you that, even if it's not a wedding size envelope. If even in a regular cheapy envelope, they'll open those if they're hand addressed and they come to the office because they're not going to know what it's about. Okay? You might think it's a referral fee. Yeah. Put it like one of those envelopes with a little pin. Ha, just tricked you. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, you know what actually you could do is put a check that's voided. And actually, that's a brilliant idea. I'm going to steal that. Okay, I have this letter in my real estate, my realtor course. It's called $500 or a piece of garbage. And that's what the title is, right? You know what I'm talking about? And it basically says, this is to find buyers. Now, right now, you don't need this letter because there are tons of buyers out there. But that's not always the case. Okay, there might be many times when buyers are the gold, right? I mean, it goes in phases. Well, I have this letter that says, dear realtor, do you ever have a buyer who's not qualified to get a mortgage? They have them all the time. Don't throw away their name and number. If you can't help them, maybe I can. I specialize in lease options. If you give me their name and number and I sell them one of my lease options, I will give you a $500 commission. So is it $500 or a piece of garbage? And you could actually do a $500 check that's voided in there, or for you in the future with a letter. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay. Gotta do that. Okay. But that would be cool. Or you could do something else like maybe a commission, like the commission on their listing value, where it might say up to, like, let's say it was a $300,000 listing. It could be like a $9,000 commission check. It says future check to be yours upon, the deal. And that might, I don't know how that might work, but I think they would be like, wow, if it's done properly, it could be really creative.
Likely to open it.
Yeah, you definitely would open it if it was in one of those envelopes with it looked like a check. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Okay, so that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Open houses. Okay, this is a great place to meet real estate agents. All right? Why would you want to meet real estate agents at open houses? They're bored. Yeah, they might be bored. Oh gosh, I go to open houses all the time to chit-chat with agents. Oh yeah, I'm a realtor, but I just go to Snoop and look. Yeah, but you could go as a buyer. Oh yeah, they'd love it. Come into my web. If they're a smart agent, they're going to want you.
I get invited all the time on Facebook. I didn't know if that's because they don't realize I'm not a realtor, but I'm the best. But
no, but you should go. I mean, I go on Sunday afternoons a lot. My daughter and I used to do this a lot on Sunday afternoons. We would just pop around the open houses. And what that did is it gave me, for me, yes, I am a real estate agent, but even if I wasn't, I'd go meet the real estate agents and build a little bit of a relationship with them and a little bit of rapport with them to chit-chat about the house, especially when the market, like if it's a cold day or I don't see any cars there. I mean, right now sometimes they have a lot of people through. And if there's a lot of people through, you're not going to have much time to chit-chat. But if there's not a lot of people through, then maybe their signs aren't real good or something like that. If there's not a lot of people through, it's a great time to go in and chit-chat with them, like Steve said, because if no one's there, they're really bored. And it's a good time for me to say, well, show me the house. I'm, looking around for different things, and I'm kind of considering a home in this area. As a matter of fact, I'm looking for some investment properties, and I'm wondering if this might be a potential. So I didn't say I'm a real estate investor. I said I'm looking for some investment properties. It sounds a little classier, doesn't it, real estate agents? If I say I'm a real estate investor, all of a sudden they're like, oh, another one of those, trying to see some late night TV stuff with buying properties for little or no money down, So if it comes across a little bit, there's ways to say the same thing, but a little bit classier. I'm looking for some investment properties in the area, and I'm wondering if this might be a potential for me. Could you show me around? That's a very classy way to say it. And immediately, I just ask questions. Why do I ask questions all the way through the house? Because what? I'm going to control the conversation, and what else? They keep talking. And when they keep talking, what does that tell me? Stuff I need to know, if they know anything. And also, it just builds rapport. Right? That's why, when you're trying to build a relationship with someone, you ask them questions. Get them talking. They love you, So ask the real estate agents questions. How long has it been on the market? Not too nosy. I mean, if you start getting into like how much they owe, they're going to say, that's none of your business. They're not going to like that. When you start getting too detailed like that. But there's ways to find out how much they owe without asking the real estate agent how much they owe. Number one, public records in most states will give you that information. Not all states, by the way. Some states, that's not public information. But in most of your states, it is public information. Am I right? So you can find out like what the original. So don't ask the real estate agent how much they owe. But instead, I might say something like, well, would they consider doing something creative? And then they might say, oh, no, they have a mortgage. They can't do that. And I'll say, well, do they have a large mortgage balance? I didn't say how much do they owe. But I'm going to get to that. They might say, oh, no, they owe like $250. They can't do it. Oh, okay, yeah, that's quite a bit, Well, how about something creative like maybe a lease to own? I can lease it now and buy it later. But see, you can get the answers. You can find out how much people owe on their house by asking the question in a different way. I don't need to say, how much do you owe? And same thing, even like if I don't ask how much their payment is, I'll ask them something, instead I'll say something like, Kurt, your house sounds really nice, and we start talking, and I say, how much would you need each month to make this work for you on your house? So now I know what he's going to tell me. Well, my payment is, but if I said, Kurt, what's your payment on your house? Totally different feeling, isn't that? If you're the person, don't you feel like, it's none of your business? None of your business. And it feels just different. Ugh. So there's different ways to say things and get the answers that you want without directly asking those questions. It's just like when you say, how many people are going to live here? They'll usually tell you, well, it's just me, my wife, and my 2 kids. But I didn't ask if they have kids or, if it's female, male, right? They just told me because I asked that question. Most people will tell you that. Yeah, did you have no questions? Okay. All right. So any questions on that about working with real estate agents?
You say do they have a large mortgage balance?
Yeah, I might say something about after I say, could they do something creative? And then they say, oh, no, they have a mortgage. Then I say, oh, is it a large mortgage balance? Because I wouldn't start with saying, do they have a large mortgage balance? Because I think some real estate agents, you tell me if I'm wrong on that, but don't you feel like you'd be like, I'm not telling you that. But they'll answer it the other way then. They'll usually answer you the other way. And when we call real estate agents, you might also see that they sometimes do what's TMI, too much information. And they may tell you a little bit too much. What's that?
How does that work on commercial?
A commercial property? Which part of it?
Like small apartment buildings.
Small apartment buildings. Any of what we're talking about can be done on a small apartment buildings, large apartment buildings, commercial strip centers, shopping centers. I mean, most of them, as a matter of fact, most commercial signs you'll see is for sale or lease. You see those very common, right?
Yes.
So they're way more likely. Of course, they're also much savvier investors, so they're probably not going to do it for zero down. Just so you know. I mean, they're probably going to want a larger down. But they're again, it's not their home, so they don't necessarily need to sell it to move because they don't live there. And they know that right now commercial financing is fairly hard to get also. So they're more likely to do something creative like this. Okay?
What about on seller finance? You said you don't do that anymore, but would you buy something on seller finance?
Oh, would I buy something on seller finance versus sell? Absolutely. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I just bought one in my IRA. Where's John? Did he just step out? Okay, John Bowens. Okay, John, I want you to come up in just a minute, so don't leave. Okay, good. Before we break. Okay, so here's the criteria for looking for properties in the MLS. Okay, it's not a short sale. Okay, it can't be upside down. In other words, if it's going to be a short sale, I didn't call them. These are for my listings, right? The listings that I pulled, not a bank owned. It's not a REO. Banks are not going to do a lease option with you. They want cash. They want money. I like on the market at least 90 days. And the weaker the market, the longer I'll go. Right now we have a fairly strong market, so I might say 90 days. If it's a really slow market, when we had 280 some days on the market, then I would have done 180 days. So I want the longer ones. Okay. Median price point typically is what I look for, or like Jim said, he does 80% of median. That's fine. In other words, your nicer homes and up. And the reason I like the nicer homes and up, number one, is it's a better clientele tenant that you're going to get in those price points. And the higher the price point, the more money you're going to make, even if you flip that deal.
For the same work.
For the same work. And probably less work. Because and anything much below that, those are rentals. And in a rental neighborhood, I can tell you pretty much your chances of someone exercising an option are pretty small. Because it's a renter mentality in those neighborhoods. It's not a bad thing, it's just a fact. Okay? When you're looking at, some of the properties you're going to see on my bus tour on Monday are rental areas, okay? They're not going to be someone who would exercise on an option. So I have one in that neighborhood I did on an option because it's a very big historic one that's really nice, and the lady is the buyer is very educated, wanted that neighborhood, wanted the number of bedrooms I had, and she put quite a bit down on an option actually. And she knows she's going to do some work on it and all that. I mean, it was kind of an unusual case, but normally that wouldn't be the kind of deal that I would do in that neighborhood. I normally would just say no. If you want to buy it later, we'll talk about it, but right now it's just for rent. If there's a neighborhood that won't allow renters, can you do a lease option? Probably not, unless you get permission. Like a lot of condo associations won't allow tenants, or the tenants have to be approved by the condo association. So you have to check that out. Okay, and then vacant properties. If you could tell they're vacant, these are the criteria where when you pull those from the MLS, now what I've done is, okay, all these properties are in the MLS, right? In my market, here, this many of them are going to sell within the next 2 weeks, okay, if they're priced right. So now I got this many, right? So now I'm going to take these. These don't sell for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Take out the bank owned, take out the short sales, and find out if they're vacant. That's what I want right here, okay? It's going to be a very small portion of what we started with. But those are the ones that the chances of them wanting and willing to do something is a lot higher. So could you call all these? Feel free, have fun. I'm not saying it's not going to work. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying I like to filter my choices here. This is what works the very best. Okay? I mean, you're definitely going to waste your time if you call bank owned and short sales. They're not going to, that's definitely wasting your time. All right? Yes?
So when you go through the MLS, you, after 90 days, and you follow all the criteria, you call the agent and you ask him right away, what would be the speech to the agent? Would you ask if the owner would be willing to do a lease option?
I'm going to show you that speech right when we do our live calls soon. Okay. But right now, let's, for 10, 15 minutes, John, can I get you up here for 10 or 15 minutes? Because we still need to take a break and then we still got to come back. You're not done yet. Okay. John, pull up a chair. Oh, I got to get you a mic. Do we have another mic? Let me see. Okay, guys, welcome John Bowens from Equity Trust. John. So what I was going to tell you is I just bought 3 properties in my IRA last month.
Thank you.
And one of them, oops. Uh-oh. Or maybe we're just too close to each other.
Yeah, we're just close.
Okay. One of them I bought on a land contract, seller financing, for $5,000 down. I bought it with my best friend Debbie, so we each only had to put $2,500 down. And our payments are $370 a month, which we split. And the rent is $950 a month. Isn't that fun? You do the cash on cash return on that and tell me what that is. Is it what?
A Roth?
Yeah, it's a Roth IRA. Oh yeah, I don't know if hers is Roth. I don't know. I think it is, but I'm not sure.
Smart.
But all mine is in the Roth IRA. Yeah, I don't like taxes, so yeah. Okay, good. Go ahead. So, wait 1 second.
Sure.
Okay. Well, actually,
I think I'm okay.
Well, maybe not because we don't have time, so I want to make sure you get time. All right. So, John is going to be here till tomorrow night. He's not here Sunday. So if you think you want to start saving taxes and want to do some of this within your education IRA and pay for your college, or through different forms of retirement accounts, which he'll talk about a few of them right now, then you definitely want to see him before he leaves, okay? So so one of the questions I got up here was, can you do lease options? Can you really do sandwich lease options in your IRA?
Absolutely. In fact, did Jim mention at all some of the deals he's done in his IRA
Did he
account?
mention that yet? No, because I think tomorrow he probably will.
He might talk a little bit about that. So you can certainly purchase real estate options. You can do sandwich lease options inside of a self-directed retirement account. In fact, we're finding that a number of investors are adopting that strategy because they either have underfunded IRAs or they establish an IRA for the very first time in their life. And maybe they only put $1,000 or $1,500 in the account. But that can get them started with a real estate option, or in particular with a sandwich lease option. And then they're using that tenant buyer's cash flow in order to make the payments. And essentially the asset within the IRA is an option. It's just like if you were investing in a stock option. A lot of people are familiar with investing in stock options, or even just investing in stocks for that matter. From a mechanical perspective and from an IRS perspective, it's really looked at no differently. So when you buy stocks or mutual funds or bonds or more traditional securities, as most Americans are accustomed to, functionally what occurs, the IRA makes the purchase, cash leaves the IRA, in return for the cash is a stock certificate or a mutual fund certificate. In the case of buying properties or notes or any other types of alternative assets in the real estate realm, cash leaves the account, and then in return for that cash is an option contract, or it might be an actual deed to the property, or it could be a mortgage note or trust deed, or some other type of alternative real estate related investment. I'm not sure where I'm at or what's going on here, but maybe if I move a little bit farther away, we'll be okay. So again, think of it that way when you're investing in these alternative investments, I refer to them as. In particular, because we're talking about real estate options, think about it in the context of you're purchasing a tangible asset, cash is leaving the account, which is not a taxable situation. In a return for that cash, again, is some sort of underlying security, which might be a deed to the property, or in the case of real estate options, it's an actual option contract. And when you exercise that option, now your IRA acquires the property, or if you assign that option to the tenant buyer, which is what we see happen in most cases. Investors are actually assigning the option rather than exercising the option and simultaneously closing to the tenant buyer. And the reason why they would do that is because they don't have the cash in the IRA to actually exercise the option.
So that might be why Jim was talking about some of the cases that he was talking about, or could be, where you can't do someone asked a question about transactional funding. If you buy and sell a property the same day, you must use your own money to buy it. If the IRA is the person or the entity buying it instead of an LLC, that IRA must have that money in order to buy it. Of course, an IRA could use transactional funding, couldn't they?
The IRA could use transactional funding. Okay. However, if the IRA uses transactional funding, the IRA has now taken on debt. And when your IRA takes on debt, that's the one instance where you're creating a taxable situation. Your IRA is actually responsible for paying taxes on the portion of profits that's attributable to the debt finance percentage of that asset.
Wow. So if you owed 90 grand, you borrowed 90, you might pay taxes on the 90, so why use the IRA?
Exactly.
Got it.
The whole purpose of the IRA is because it's tax exempt. Pursuant to Section 408 of the Internal Revenue Code, your Roth IRA, your traditional IRA, your 401ks, a covered L education savings account, a health savings account, when you're buying and selling real estate, options, any other type of assets, stocks, mutual funds, all income that you derive from the rental or sale of a property or the dividends that you accrue on a stock or other type of private investment or interest you accrue on a loan, all of that income that you derive from those activities goes directly back to the IRA or investment account, and it's exempt from short-term, long-term capital gains tax or ordinary income taxes. So that's the overarching benefit of using a retirement account or investment account to buy and sell real estate, is that you can, one, of course, for diversification purposes, you can move your assets into alternative related investments that are not correlated to the stock market, and then you're investing in a way that is tax exempt and potentially significantly reducing your taxable income. So the best way to describe it is you're removing income which otherwise would appear on your 1040, and it's now going in directly into a tax exempt investment account, which is separate from you personally.
Very cool. So now, think about this. When you're buying a property in your IRA, it's exactly the same as if you're buying in the LLC, except that the money goes back into your retirement account. Okay, you're not supposed to touch it if it's outside of the LLC either. I mean, that money, the rent check should go to the LLC, right?
Yes.
Well, instead of the LLC, it would be the rent checks go to the IRA, right? It's very similar in concept, because people get real confused about how does my IRA buy it? Exactly the same way an LLC does. It's just that my IRA is the one signing on behalf as the buyer under the signature line, okay? Versus an LLC.
And what I think is extremely important to understand is when your IRA is making a purchase, it's not a distribution from the account. It's a purchase. It's like buying a stock or a mutual fund like we talked about. So again, your IRA is taking title to that asset, cash leaves the IRA. As far as the IRS is concerned, or any other government agency, you're buying stocks, mutual funds, and other traditional securities just like the rest of the 98% of Americans. So that asset, again, is held in custody in the IRA account, and the investment is titled in the name of the IRA. So if you enter into an agreement to purchase a property with your equity trust IRA, you're going to title it as such: Equity Trust Company Custodian, FBO, as in for benefit of, your name or account number IRA. Many of our customers prefer to use their account number for privacy purposes. So now your name doesn't come up on public record. If somebody tries to contact us at our office, we can't give them any sensitive information. We're a bank-regulated institution. We have to adhere to the Bank Privacy Act. Now they're probably going to pry and press and try to get information from us. And I train my sales agents to respond and say, well, this is one of our clients. They own a property with their IRA. They're a real estate investor. Do you by any chance have an IRA or a 401k that you might be interested in? Right? So we turn it into a sales call. So it's important to understand the distinct difference between your IRA making a purchase and you personally. But of course, the IRA is just an alter ego of you. And eventually you're going to benefit from using those funds tax-free down the road so you can enjoy the fruits of your own labor during your retirement years.
Now, let's say I want to buy a property let's say I only have 50 grand in my IRA and I have 50 grand in my checking account and I want to buy a $100,000 property. Can I do that transaction? Can I partner with my IRA?
Yes, so you can partner with your IRA account. That is an advanced strategy. Yes. And it would require... We won't get into too much
detail here then.
Yeah, it would require further examination. We want to make sure that there's not enabling occurring and that you're in violation of the Internal Revenue Code and a prohibited transaction. But it is, for the most part, permissible. And so what Wendy is describing there is, let's say, for example, I was going to buy a $100,000 property. I had $50,000 in my IRA. I had $50,000 in a checking account, to her example. So I'm going to go in a tenants in common arrangement, or an undivided interest arrangement, we refer to it as. So on title, it would actually state Equity Trust Company, Custodian, FBO, my name or account number, IRA, 50% undivided interest, and then me personally, or it'll probably be in my LLC, 50% undivided interest. Now going forward, all of the fix-up repairs, ongoing maintenance, taxes, insurance, etc. are going to be paid 50-50. Likewise, all profits from the rental or sale of the property are going to flow back 50%, 50%. We see this quite commonly with husband and wives who both have IRA accounts. They partner their IRAs. I'll give you an example. A client of ours in Indianapolis, Indiana, John Pasilio, is a RE/MAX broker. He bought a property for $75,000 in 2009. The state came in and bought the property because they were going to bulldoze the property because it was paid for a major road project. Bought it for $210,000. In the meantime, he had cash floated in excess of about $45,000. So he made over $200,000 on the transaction in just over 3 years in both his IRA and his wife's IRA. And what was interesting is when they initially purchased the property, they bought the property between their two traditional IRAs, immediately converted at $75,000 valuation, so they paid less in taxes. Going forward, that $200,000 in income they produced, 100% tax-free.
Within the Roth part. And so, you know, you hear about this like, oh, I make too much money to put money in my Roth IRA. There's always ways around that, right?
Right. So
talk about how to do that.
Sure. So what Wendy's referring to is, unfortunately, if you make too much money, you can't contribute directly to the Roth IRA account. So if you're single and you make over $129,000 modified adjusted gross income, which is basically just your AGI, you don't qualify for a direct contribution to a Roth IRA. If you're married filing jointly, you make over $191,000, can't contribute directly to a Roth IRA. However, starting in 2010, they lifted the MAGI limits for a conversion from a tax-deferred traditional IRA or 401k into a Roth IRA account. So if you make too much money, you contribute to a traditional IRA and then immediately convert over to a Roth IRA. We have people every year, they contribute to their traditional IRAs or their SEP IRAs, $25,000 up to $52,000 in some cases. January 1, they set up the SEP or traditional IRA, they make the contribution, then they convert over to a Roth IRA account.
So everyone got you? So when you put it into the traditional or the SEP, it's a tax deduction, but when you convert it to the Roth, it's a taxable gain. So, but the net of the two is zero. It's just an extra step you have to go through to actually do this.
We should probably clarify for those that don't understand the difference between a traditional and Roth IRA account.
Yeah.
So a traditional IRA is what most people are familiar with. Back in 1974, the ERISA Act was passed, gave birth to IRAs and 401ks, and basically that was the genesis of modern day retirement system. So the traditional IRA is a tax-deferred IRA where when you put money into the account, you get a tax deduction for it. So because you get a tax deduction now, eventually when you take the money out after 59 and a half during your retirement years, that's when you're going to pay the taxes. The Roth IRA didn't come about until 1997, 1998, so it's not as popular as a traditional IRA. But for real estate investors, it is certainly the more popular of the two because of the tax-deferred treatment. So with the Roth IRA, when we put money into the account, we have to pay the taxes. It grows 100% tax-free.
In other words, after-tax dollars.
Right. So the analogy we use is you either pay taxes on the seed or you pay taxes on the crop. So with the Roth IRA, we're paying taxes on the seed, we grow it, and then we don't have to pay taxes after 59.5. So if I grow a Roth IRA to $1 million, I turn 59.5, I can take a distribution of $1 million, not pay a single dime in taxes. I do that in a traditional IRA account, what's going to happen? 39.6%. marginal tax rate. In addition to that, if I have any net investment income, the 3.8% Medicare surtax is going to kick in. So what we're finding is a lot of investors, savvy investors, like Jim, for instance, they're saying to themselves, you know what, it behooves me to pay the taxes now on this traditional IRA so I don't have to pay it later.
Right.
But don't let that discourage you. If you have a traditional IRA or a 401k or you have a pension plan, a defined benefit plan, or if you're a federal government employee and you have a thrift savings plan and you have $200,000 in that plan, it might not make sense for you to convert that entire $200,000 into the Roth IRA account because that's going to be a significant tax burden. But what you might want to consider is converting let's say $50,000
enough to do a deal or two.
Enough to do a deal or two.
I mean, if you could take, $5-10 grand for option stuff or option deals and turn that into $100,000 or $200,000, that might be all you need. That seed money he's talking about, right? It's a small seed to make a big amount with options.
Right. In the traditional IRA, there are still benefits from a tax perspective. You still have the benefit in each year. It's a tax-deferred account. You have the benefit in each year you're avoiding ordinary income, long-term, short-term capital gains tax. So when you're out looking for deals, and I understand that this is a very sophisticated audience, you're doing multiple deals per year, you're probably not going to do every deal inside of your self-directed retirement account because you want to grow your business, you need retained earnings, you want to use that capital for other types of business ventures, so on and so forth. But maybe you want to take a few deals per year and put those in your IRA account. So if you have $100,000, let's say, in income per year that you're going to pay taxes on, let's say you take one deal, $15,000, you've now reduced your taxable income from $100,000 to $85,000. And that's what our investors are doing. A lot of them are very active. They're not necessarily doing every deal inside of their self-directed IRA. Some are, of course. But they're taking some of those higher yielding transactions and they're putting those in their IRA account so that they can eliminate the taxation associated with that income. They can effectively lower their taxable income in that year. Again, removing income from their 1040 and putting it in their IRA account. One of the other interesting facets of a Roth IRA that I want to mention, because when we're looking at investing, I oftentimes find that people feel as if, well, I can't touch the money until I'm 59 and a half, right?
Right.
Well, there are some exemptions that we should mention. For example, I mentioned John Pacilio. He grew the account to over $200,000 in a short period of time. And when he was at one of our one-day seminars that we host, it was in Indianapolis, Indiana, I asked him on stage in front of a group of about 100 people, what do you intend on doing with these funds later on in life? And I assumed that he was going to give me the story, as many investors do, of enjoying his retirement and Burgess Key Belize or something of that nature. And I was actually shocked when he told me he doesn't intend on using the money for his retirement. He's well under 59 and a half, but he has 9 children, 2 of which are approaching the age for higher education to go to college. And there's an exemption with a Roth IRA that you can take money out of the plan 100% tax and penalty free if it is used for higher education for either the account holder or the account holder's children. And you can go to publication 590. I want to say it's maybe around page 30-something. Go to irs.gov. It's a 113-page downloadable PDF document, so it's not light reading. But
so you don't necessarily need an education IRA if you're running enough through your Roth IRA. You don't need to have 2 separate ones.
Correct.
Maybe just try to really build up that one, and you can use it for the same thing and choose if you're going to use it for education or not.
And here's another interesting facet of the Roth IRA
Always
account.
learn something new here.
And we're starting to look into providing education to the masses about what we call generational investing. And what that means is setting up Roth IRA accounts for our parents or even grandparents in some instances, and making ourselves the beneficiary or our children the beneficiary so that they can benefit from tax-free income even well before the age of 59 and a half. Let me give you an example. And this is going to sound a little bit morbid, okay, but just bear with me. Let's say I set up a Roth IRA account for my father who's 60 years old. And I put $5,500 into the account. Let's say I put the maximum in, $6,500 in the account. And I go out and I start buying and selling real estate. It's probably going to start with options first because it's a small amount of money, right? And let's say I grow this account to $200,000 in the next 10 years. My father's 70 years old. He passes away. He leaves the account to me. I'm now 40 years old, 19 and a half years away from the retirement age of 59 and a half. But because the account's seasoned with my father, and it's a Roth IRA after tax, I can enjoy that money 100% tax-free now, well before the age of 59 and a half, well before my retirement age.
That's cool.
What some people are doing is they are setting up accounts for their in-laws for the benefit of their children. So their children will be 30, 35 years old, and now they have a tax-free vessel. And they can continue to grow that 100% tax-free and then use the income and not pay any taxes on any of the distribution. So think about it from a preservation of wealth standpoint. Let's say I have 2 duplexes in my Roth IRA account and 4 units cash flowing at $4,000 after all expenses per month in an appreciating market. I've now created a vehicle where I can get an extra $4,000 of income per month without paying a single dime in taxes, and I'm preserving that asset in an appreciating market And if I pass away, that account is left to my heirs and they don't pay taxes on it. They can dissolve the assets or dissolve the account, sell the assets.
Wow.
And they don't have to pay any taxes. So the Roth IRA has some really interesting facets to it that from an estate planning perspective, I think are important to look at. And then also, again, from like paying for higher education, it's important to look at some of those attributes as well.
That's very cool.
So you would give that money to your parent or in-law. Is that how would you get the money to them for them to invest?
To get the money in the plan, it depends on their current retirement situation. If they have current retirement plans, great. They don't need to have earned income. You can just convert it over into a Roth IRA account. If they don't have any retirement whatsoever and they don't have earned income, you'd have to get them earned income. That might be through working for your real estate business. We have a lot of clients that are doing that. They're employing their in-laws for their real estate business, whether it's scouring the MLS or maybe if they're able-bodied, they can actually go out to the properties and help perform due diligence and analysis, a market analysis, so on and so forth.
So you can't give them the money. It has to be.
Can't just, right, it has to be earned income to then contribute directly to an IRA account. But of course, if you don't have earned income, but you have retirement money, you can invest with the money, you can grow it. There's no limitations there.
So can the Roth IRA be used, you said, for school, for education, for a child who has loans to pay off the loans that were at school?
From my knowledge, at this point, you cannot. That's a very ambiguous question that has not been well defined.
So you can't use it to pay off loans.
Can't pay off loans. Yeah, it has to be used for tuition, general
before they
fees.
went in, so they would prevent those loans.
Which is really unfortunate, and I have an argument against that, believe me. But as of right now, unless somebody wants to pay me to go lobby on Congress, I don't know.
Yeah. Couple more questions, and then we're going to take a break. Repeat that question too.
Okay. Okay, so her question, two-part question. First part of the question was our charges, Equity Trust, our annual maintenance fees. And then the second part of the question was how long does it take to fund a transaction. So as far as our annual maintenance fees are concerned, it's a graduated scale. So as the portfolio value increases, the annual maintenance fee will increase slightly, only assessed once per year. To put it in perspective for you, if you have an account under $15,000 in value, you only have a $195 annual maintenance fee. From $15,000 to $25,000, you pay $275, so on and so forth. $100,000 to $200,000, the annual maintenance fee is $460. As the portfolio value increases on a percentage basis, it diminishes, but on a dollar basis, it increases. We have a $50 one-time setup fee. We waive that setup fee at all of Wendy's events. So if anyone was interested in establishing an account and funding an account, you might not be funding the account this weekend, but if you're interested in establishing the self-directed IRA, please stop by the booth. I'll give you an application. It takes a couple minutes to complete. Your $50 setup fee would be waived. The only additional fees we would have above and beyond that $190 maintenance fee or whatever your annual maintenance fee might be, depending on the amount you're moving over, we have a $30 wire transfer fee and a $50 same-day service fee. Other than that, everything is all-inclusive. That includes access to our online bank management system where you can process checks. If you write 500 checks a year from your IRA account, we don't charge anything extra. We don't charge you extra per transaction. It's only when you're sending a wire transfer, you have an emergency situation. That leads into the next part of your question, how quickly can we fund a deal? We can fund a deal. If you sent the paperwork into us in the morning, we can have it funded by the afternoon. We can have the wire transfer sent out. Normal processing, no more than 3 business days, but our average processing at this moment in time is 24 to 48 hours. You would work with an individual representative in our office. We call them an investment liaison, and they're essentially your partner in the deal with Equity Trust to actually walk you through all the paperwork, the transaction, make sure you have titling correct, reach out to the title company or the seller's agent or anyone else that's involved in that transaction. So you have that individualized attention as we guide you through the transactions and process that efficiently for you.
Couple more and then we gotta move on.
Sir, could you tell me what the annual limits are for the different types of IRAs, like a SEP or a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA?
Sure, I'll go through them very quickly because there's a few.
And can you avoid, can you increase that by using, say, a SEP and rolling it into the Roth? Can you beat normal traditional?
Yes, you can. Okay, so a traditional and Roth IRA, while you're under 50, you can contribute $5,500, no more. $6,500 when you're 50 and over. There's a catch-up provision. That's irrespective of rollovers, transfers, earnings. Okay, so if you make $20,000 buying and selling, you can then, in addition to that, make your $5,500 or $6,500 contribution. There are 3 small business plans: SEP, Simple, and Solo 401k. The SEP IRA account, you can contribute up to $52,000 in the current year. In fact, if you filed an extension, you can still make a contribution for 2013, not to exceed 25% of your earned income in that business. There's a Simple IRA account. I'm not even going to talk about it because about 0.0003% of the population set it up, but if you're interested in the figures, I can provide that to you. The Solo 401k, that is really becoming the end-all, be-all of retirement programs for small business entrepreneurs, in particular for real estate entrepreneurs. You can contribute up to $17,500 to the Solo 401k plan through your business. The company can match up to 25% of your salary to not exceed $34,500. So you can get well over $50,000 in the Solo 401k. And with the Solo 401k, that's $17,500 while you're under 50, and then $23,000 if you're 50 and over can go into the Roth portion of the Solo 401k. It's called a Roth component. So you can actually get $23,000 if you're over 50 into a Roth 401k after tax, functions just like a Roth IRA, then make your $6,500 contribution to a Roth IRA account. The CISA account, Covered Education Savings Account, you can put $2,000 in per year. And then the health savings account, I'm not going to go through the specific figures, but if you have a family policy, you can get north of $7,000 in that account if you're 55 and over.
Okay. 2 more and that's it, really. Shelley, and
Can
then...
you tell us what,
You guys can see him all weekend, by the way, so...
can you tell us what a flipping an option would look like?
Assignment of an option? Sure. So we see that frequently. I'll give you an example. Gentleman, Stan Brady. I know you've met Stan. So Stan found a property in Atlanta, Georgia, and he put it under contract with an option to buy. And the option consideration was $100. So he sent in the option contract. And the option contract read Equity Trust Company, custodian, FBOs, and for benefit of his daughter's name, Covered Education Savings Account. He asked for a $100 earnest money deposit. We mailed out the $100 earnest money deposit. He gave it to the seller. Less than 60 days later, he assigned the option contract. He sent the assignment to Equity Trust Company to notify us that this was occurring. And then a check for $4,098.20 came into the Equity Trust IRA for deposit. So he set up the account, $100 went out, $4,098.20 went back into the IRA account. And that all occurred, again, in less than 60 days. As far as the processing of the transaction, we were able to do everything for him within 3 business days, and there were no additional charges because he just had a check sent out of the IRA. So that's the basic
Would anyone like
functions
to
of it.
turn $100 into that for your retirement? Okay, just curious.
You talked about doing like financing the education for your kids out of your IRA. You do it for your grandchildren as well?
Unfortunately, with a Roth IRA, that is not considered a qualified distribution if it's used for your grandchildren. It's the way the law reads, it's only for the account holder and the account holder's children. Yeah, direct descendants.
Cool. Okay, so we got to wrap it up, guys, because here's the scoop. So we're not done yet. Oh, we're going to do something?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know, this is what I passed around.
Cool.
If you're interested in some additional education, I know I didn't have a whole lot of time, and I probably spent way too much time than I should have, so I apologize, Wendy. But I've put together just over 8 hours of educational material. These are going to come in downloadable form. I would ask you between now and tomorrow evening to fill this out and drop it by my booth. I have a fishbowl out there. Following this event this week, I'll send an email out, and you'll have these 8-hour these downloads.
Cool.
It includes actually all the information about the different account types, contribution limits, eligibility, so on and so forth, IRA rules and regulations. And then we have a collection of client testimonials. So we actually have our clients on stage from our annual networking conference where they're talking about different deals they've done. In fact, you'll hear from Stan Brady, who I just referenced, and some of the others that I talked about on these downloads. So feel free to fill that out. And again, I have some materials as far as if anyone was interested in actually establishing an account and going forward. And we have some additional materials that we'll be providing thereafter. So thank you very much,
John.
Wendy. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Okay, cool. Okay. So John will be around, and you'll be around after today too, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be hanging around.
And he'll be here tomorrow morning, he'll be here during the breaks tomorrow, and he'll be here till tomorrow evening. So make sure you stop by with any questions if you didn't get your questions. You definitely want, can you turn that all the way off? Yeah, perfect, perfect. Hopefully that's all it is. Okay, so here's our deal. If I take a break now, we might only have like 15, 20 minutes when we come back. Should I just go straight through? Yeah. If you gotta pee, go pee. Not here though. Oh, I've been talking too long. Okay, let's talk about paperwork real quick. All right, here's some main paperwork that you're going to need. When you're looking at pro buyer stuff, so this is when you're working with the seller, you're going to use a proposal first, or you can use a proposal first, okay? And I have a sample of it in our workbook for you. And it shows you what I use to send to the seller before I even do a deal. Okay, before I even make my offer or make the full paperwork. Why would I use a simple one-page proposal first? It's easy to understand, it's very simple. When you do an option, there is a lot more paperwork involved, so it can look kind of complex and scary. So I want to make sure we're on the same page before I start dumping them with all this paperwork. Sound reasonable on that?
Would you mail that to them?
I don't mail it to them. I'll either discuss it with them on the phone or I'll email it to them. Yeah, it usually just kind of depends on the seller and your relationship with them. Some sellers are like, I want to see it in writing. Okay, great, I'll send you a proposal. If they say, well, just tell me what it is, then I say, okay, well, let's talk about it. Here's my thoughts. Here's what I can do for you. And then we'll discuss it on the phone. Okay, so just it really depends, or if it may be in person too. Depends on your relationship with that seller at that time. So what you're going to do, these are the main things you do when you're buying on an option. You're going to do the option agreement, the rental agreement, and the sales contract. Okay, those are the paperwork that you're going to use with the sellers. Okay, now, what page is that on in the handouts? It's the other handouts, wrong handouts, Eric. That's why. It's in the workbook. Okay? It's in the workbook. All right, now, when you're calling a real estate agent, I want to kind of cover this evening before you guys leave, because here's my goal for you. I want you to go tonight and make some calls before tomorrow. This is really important. While you're here this weekend, I know it's a lot. You've had a long day. You're tired. But I want to encourage you that to spend even just half an hour making calls. Just sit down, take those leads that you have, those listings, and start pounding away the phones. Why? Because it works. You can cover a lot of calls in a very short time period. If you get their voicemail, just leave your name and number and next, okay? So I want to kind of go through the script with you of what you're going to say to real estate agents when you call them. All right? Now, I don't think there's a handout in there. I don't know if I do have a handout. I don't think so, because I kind of... Is it the script? Let me see it. Page 11. Maybe I did put it in here last time. Oh, okay, yeah, I do. Okay. Perfect. Page 11 in the workbook. All right? So basically, I'm going to say something like, okay, I've got my listings, right? So I have my listings right here, and I know how many days it's been on the market, all right? Because it's been pulled. They don't know I have this when I call them, okay? But I know I have this information, so I'm going to see how many days on the market. Like for instance, here's this one. It's been on the market 323 days. This first one on my list, okay? It was listed last August. That's going to tell me immediately there's something wrong. To me, there's only one of two things that can be wrong in today's market. What is it? Price or? Well, the condition is a reflection of price. So if there's a bad condition, it's overpriced, right? So all that's going to relate to the price, right? There could be a mistake in there. It's a marketing mistake, or there's something wrong with the real estate agent, what they put in here. I know you might be surprised, but sometimes real estate agents make mistakes. Yeah, they do. Yeah. So what they could do, here's what it could be. They might, instead of having a 5-bedroom, 2-bath, it might say a 2-bedroom, 5-bath. So anyone looking for a 5-bedroom would never see that, right? Because it wouldn't pull up in the search. Or even if they were looking for a 3-bedroom, it wouldn't pull up. If there's a typo, okay, that is an example. The other thing is, for instance, they might put the wrong city or the wrong code for a city and not realize it. So anyone searching in that city wouldn't see it. So the likelihood that it would sell would be very low. Now, or it could be, what was that?
Or no address.
Well, it has to have an address to get on the MLS. At least ours does.
Yeah.
But it could be the wrong address. Well,
I've seen them out there.
with no address?
No address.
Then it would be vacant land would have no address.
No, there's houses. There's
Houses? On the MLS? Locally?
Yeah.
Where's my agents in here? Can you really put one on like that?
Yeah, you can mistake it. There's got to be something in there.
I would think I have to put it in there. Okay, that's weird. So to me, those are the main two things. That, and there's a reason if it's overpriced, it could be because of any of those other issues you mentioned. Area, condition, obsolete layout, whatever. It still relates to it's overpriced. So typically, to me, that's what it would be. Or it could also have been that it was overpriced a long time ago, and it took the seller a long, long time to get that price reduced to where it should be. So now when the real estate agents look at it, they say, oh, that's been on forever. There must be something wrong with it. We call it a stale listing, Yeah, So here's what I'm going to say is, I might say something like, hi, Sally. My name is Wendy, and I was calling about the home you have for sale at 123 XYZ Street. Is it still available? Or could you tell me more about it? Okay. Then I might say something like, how much is it and how large is it? Or something like that. I'm actually asking questions as if I'm an interested buyer, right? I'm getting that real estate agent to talk and open up to me by asking them questions about this property. And then I might say something like, gosh, I've driven by and I've noticed it's been for sale for a while. And then I say, shut up. So right down beside that, shut up. And I count. And it can be a long time. And I'm like, they might just say, yeah. And then I count. And I don't say a thing. Because what will happen is everyone hates silence. So they might start going, yes. They might start saying, well, that's because, there was a death in the family, or because it was overpriced, or because they wouldn't let anyone in, or now I'm going to get the story. Or they might just say, yeah, and hello? Then I know they're not going to give me any more information, right? So then I'll say, well, I wondered if they might be open to something creative. And then I shut up. Most of the time they're going to say something like what? Or they might say, no, they're not interested in something creative. They need their cash out. But most of the time they're going to say, like what? And then I'm going to say, and I want you to see how I've said this. Well, something like a rent-to-own, a lease option, a lease purchase, or owner financing with your commission and paid in full. Would something like that work? Now, I see it says, I'm a rent-to-own buyer looking for a home in that area, but you could take that line out or use it. I usually will just say, and I string a whole bunch of terms together. I might even throw land contract in there, just because locally they're going to know what that means. Because I don't know which word or terminology the real estate agent on the other end is going to understand or resonate with. I have had a lot of them where I'll say lease purchase, lease option, rent-to-own, seller financing, something like that. And they might say, well, they won't do a lease option, but they would do a rent to own. All right, well, we can work with that. Same thing, right? But for them, they don't know the one terminology. They think it means something different than the rent to own. So that's why I string a bunch of them out there, because I just don't know what they're going to understand, right? And then they might say, yes, they've mentioned it to me, or no, there's no way they're going to do it. Or they might say, well, I need to talk to my seller. And then I might say, if they say yes, I might say great. Or if they say yeah, they mentioned to me, I might say great. Do you know what kind of terms they're looking for? These are just some ideas for you. Do you have any other? And then if they say no, I would say, gosh, well, Sally, do you have any other listings where a seller might be open to something like this? Where they've said to you, Sally, if my home doesn't sell soon, I'm going to have to rent it. And then I shut up. Okay? And then she might say, no, I don't have any more, or I'm not sure, I have to check. What are you talking about? Or, why do you need a rent to own? That type of thing. So it just kind of depends on where the conversation goes. So you want me to call 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay. Okay, because I want you guys to practice this. Yeah, I'm a little nervous, to be really honest with you.
Doesn't the agent still have to take it back to business?
The agent, of course, has to talk to the seller. Absolutely.
They can't tell you flat out no.
They can tell me flat out no, because it's not an offer, and I'm not going to try to convince them it's otherwise. If the agent is really closed-minded to something creative, next.
Okay.
I'm only going to work with ones that are open-minded anyways. Okay, so here I'm going to call. Okay, I'm not going to call this first one because it's an 800 number. It's not a cell phone. I like to call directly to the cell phone. That's another one that's a cell phone. Okay. Here's one that's been listed for 104 days, $150,000. It was originally $185,000, so they have dropped it, $30,000. Okay. Okay, now I'm not going to tell them I'm a real estate agent. I'm just going to go with the script for right now. Then I'll do one that I'm going to show you how it works both ways. Okay, you guys ready? Okay, remember you got to be quiet.
The number you have dialed is not in service.
Wow, I'm looking to make sure I didn't misdial. Wow, that might be a reason. I'm going to try it again. No, wait. Shh. It's the same number, but it just didn't go through.
Hello?
Hi, my name is Wendy. I was calling about a home for sale on, I think it was Brockton Avenue.
Yes, in Royal Oak.
Yeah, is that still available?
It is.
Okay, could you tell me a little bit about it, like how much it is and how large it is?
Sure. Let me just pull up the listing here. We just had a price drop.
Okay.
It is down to, hold on, $158,500.
Okay.
It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow. It's got like Brazilian cherry floors throughout the living room, dining room, and the 2 bedrooms on the main level. The kitchen it's newly renovated with maple glass front cabinets. Got granite and nice tile backsplash. The appliances are all white. It's got a finished basement, very nicely finished. Plus, it's got where the washer and dryer is in the basement. It's got a big storage area. It's a great house. Cute. It's got a front porch. It's got a nice fenced-in backyard. 2-car garage. It's a great house.
Wow, okay. Yeah, it sounds really nice. I've noticed it's been for sale for a while.
Yeah, we started at $189.
Okay.
So he paid like I think he paid like $165 or $170 for it.
Okay.
So it was priced too high to begin with.
Okay.
And that's basically it. But for $158,000, it's a great house in Royal Oak.
Okay.
Are you looking specifically to be in Royal Oak?
It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
I was wondering
Well,
if, go ahead.
they live in Virginia. They've had it successfully leased for the last 3 years, and it would lease in 1 day. And they, in fact, just sent me a text saying just put it up for lease, because if they're not going to sell it, they want to at least start getting some income on it so they can cover their payment. So I know that if I put it up for lease, it'll lease in 1 day. So if you want to take a look at it, I'd be happy to set up an appointment to show it to you.
Well, actually, I'm glad that you mentioned that to me, because what I was looking for is something that I could lease now and buy later. Is that a possibility, like to do a lease to own on it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
The lease price is going to be $1,450.
Okay, the leases. Okay. Does any of that, would that any of that go toward the purchase price, or could it?
Nope. Nope.
Okay. Well, let me see. When would I maybe be able to see it? Would
tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Okay. I'm out of town for a couple of days, so maybe I will give you a call back tomorrow or the next day and see if there's a time when I could set something up with you.
Okay. And how's your credit?
Good. It's good.
Okay. And the reason you need to lease before buying is?
Well, actually, I'm looking at buying quite a few properties in the area, so I'm looking for some investments.
So why would you need to lease this one? Why wouldn't you just buy it?
Oh, because I have too many mortgages right now, and it's very hard to get more investor financing right now without a large down. So.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. All righty. Just call me if you want to see
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. What was your name?
Adriana.
Adriana? Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Okay. That's better. God, how bad? Like, how bad can it get? Okay, so, what'd you think of that one? Yeah.
Would you pursue that when they say no, nothing?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, $1,450 a month, I don't know. But here's the thing. She's answering for the seller on that particular, response. They might be thrilled to do a credit each month if they were able to sell it and have someone in there who's doing more than just renting it. Although as soon as she said they had rented it for the last 3 years, I thought, they're used to rental. They're used to rental. So that's a good thing. And they probably are motivated. They've dropped it like 30 grand.
Yeah, but why would they, you think they would come to you with the security of leasing it, knowing that it would be purchased in a couple of years rather than just putting it back on the market for leasing?
I think they would rather have a lease option. I mean, I don't know the seller situation for sure, but my thought is they prefer to sell it because they're trying to sell it. And if it hadn't sold, which it hasn't in 3 or 4 months, that's why they decided to rent it again.
So how would you get around like an agent like that? Excuse me. So they might ask their seller rather than speaking for them. I noticed they said that they would.
How would I get around them? I don't want to get around them. I want to get through them. So I would make my offer to what would work for me. Okay, now I did that as a non-licensed agent. So she asked me some questions like, well, how's your credit? Well, why can't, and I did tell her I was an investor, but without saying I'm a real estate investor. So she now knows I want to look for several properties. Well, why can't you just get a mortgage? And it's the truth. I mean, it's very hard to get financing right now as an investor. And it seemed to fly with her. So she was like, all right. She wasn't too excited, but she should have been because I was looking at multiple properties. Don't you think?
How that's a standard agent, though, right?
Oh, it's a standard. Actually, I just know the name. She's an old-time agent. She's been around a long time. So that's actually pretty open for someone in that category.
So would you give her a proposal, an offer, and then she's to take that to the seller?
Yes. I would give her a proposal offer, and she would take it to the seller. But that one, I mean, at $1,450, I wouldn't be interested, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't go see it and make my own offer. Just because they were getting $1,450 before doesn't mean that they won't take less, or that they won't take a credit, especially if I give them a price, and putting some money down for the real estate agent. They might like that without them having to pay her money. Because otherwise they got to pay her the first month's rent or something else, right? One there and one here. John?
Is she obligated to present that proposal to the seller?
Well, technically she's not obligated to present a proposal because it's not a full offer. But any reasonable, normal real estate agent would, because why wouldn't they? You know, tell their seller about it. You know what I mean? Did I answer that okay? Yeah. I mean, if they're smart, they would. I mean, I would present anything to my seller that came through if it's something to do with their house, they need to know about it. Yeah, it would be wrong for me not to share that with them.
So, when you follow up with them, would you ask anything to find out what the actual mortgage payment is?
When I might, I don't know if I'd ask what the mortgage payment is. I'd go to public records now, and I'd find out myself.
You didn't mention anything to her about paying her commission.
No, I didn't mention anything about commission. It might have, maybe her tone, but you know why I didn't? Because she already said that she's going to put it on the market in the next day or two for rent. So I already know that she's not thinking she's going to get much commission yet. But she knows if it gets optioned, she'd make more. So I didn't say anything. If otherwise I would have. Okay, let me call another one, right? Okay. Yeah, you're right. She did. She was immediately, that's an office number.
Is it a possibility she has your phone?
She has my phone number, but she didn't ask my name or anything, so she wasn't that good. I had to ask her for her name. She didn't ask for my email or name, there's a lot of agents who aren't the best. But maybe she didn't think I was that serious, because, you know. Okay, you ready? Shh. Oh, who's from Fenton? Where's my Fenton?
This is Lori.
Hi, Lori. My name is Wendy, and I was calling about a home. I think it's on Cole Street.
Yes.
Is that still available?
Yes, I get a lot of interest in it right now.
Oh, okay. Can you what?
Do you have any questions, or are you pre-qualified? Are you ready to go look, or where are you at?
Well, I've got some questions about how much is it?
I believe it's currently listed for $139.9. I just dropped the price.
Okay. And is how many square feet is the home?
It's about 1,600.
Okay.
Let me get the listing out. My computer's busy right now. Yeah, it's 1,597. Almost 1,600 square feet.
Okay, excellent. Okay. And then I've noticed it seems like it's been listed for sale for a while.
Right. One of the reasons I think is I just found out from a lender that it does approve FHA financing. The other thing is it's a manufactured home, and they sell a little bit differently than a regular stick-built. It's on a crawl, and it doesn't have a garage, but it has a great location and obviously a beautiful space.
Right.
So I gotta believe that's what's hurting it. But it's 2x6 construction. It's the top of the line in manufactured homes, and they've obviously put a lot of work into it. If you've seen the pictures.
Right, right. Well, is there any chance the seller would do anything creative to sell it?
Such as?
Something like a lease option, a rent-to-own, land contract, seller financing, something like that?
I'll throw it by him, but I'm going to say probably not. I'm not finding a lot of people that are out to be, in the lending business or be landlords. They definitely, they get to the point where they just want to sell it and be done.
Yeah, okay.
But, I am showing it tonight, and I will be in touch with them over the weekend because I'll probably show it again tomorrow.
Okay.
And I can ask about it. But with the amount of interest, I would they probably won't do that.
Okay. Well, if it doesn't sell or anything, I guess if you've got my caller ID, if you could just, call me and let me know if that's a possibility, and then I would set something up
Then
with
what
you
was
to
your,
come see
why
it.
did you want to go that route? Did you get bad credit, or why don't you want to go alone?
No, actually, I'm looking for some investment properties, and this one might be, it looks like it might be a good one for me. And with the investment financing, right now it's a little bit tough. I've got some properties I've got a lot of properties.
Okay.
So.
All right. What was your name again? I'm sorry.
My name is Wendy.
Okay, Wendy, I have your phone number, and I will let them know when I speak with them this weekend.
Okay, Lori, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Let me know what you find out.
Not a problem. Call me anytime if there's anything I can do for you. I'm a real hard worker. I'm a go-getter, and I do answer my phone, which I
Awesome.
find is the biggest complaint from buyers and sellers.
Yeah, and that was nice. You did. You're right. So thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, well, the only thing I noticed with her was, okay, realtors, what mistake did she make? Huh? Well, not the last name thing, but she didn't ask me if I was even working with a realtor. Yeah. All right, you'd normally do that. Okay, but yeah, she was actually pretty nice. I think she would have warmed up to it. Now I'm going to be a realtor, okay? Okay, so for those of you that are real estate agents, let's see.
Wendy, you don't try and explain more about what it is. Like, obviously, she didn't know what you were talking about.
I didn't explain more about it, but no. No, because I was pretending to be like just a, But you know what? How is that lake, Tipsico Lake? It's pretty good, isn't it? I think it's on the lake. I think it's lakefront on there. Yeah. That's not bad. 150, is that good? Well, then maybe it's not. I mean, I want to know if I'll show it to you later and see if it's actually. Yeah, I'll show it to you. But it's a manufactured. But still, it might be a good little lakefront cottage. I should have told her that. I just want a little lakefront cottage. Okay, ready? This one has been on the market for 300 days. Okay, it's $129,000. Ready? And I'm going to be a real estate agent on this one, if they answer. We'll see if they tell me any more. But do you notice how I did and both of them they couldn't stand it. They had to tell me more. And we're almost done for the day. Because it is 6 o'clock right now.
You've reached the voicemail of Tom Nelson.
That's why it's on the market for 300 days, buddy. Don't you think? My gosh. Really? Okay, here's one. I'm trying to make sure I don't, not that I care if they know them, but. Okay, I gotta find the lakeside, okay. This one's been on the market 145 days. The longer on the market, the more motivated, right?
Reached Teresa Beaumont with Keller Williams Realty.
Okay. What's that? That's another reason.
That goes back to what you talked about.
131 days in the market. Here we go. Dropped to 97,000. What city is this? It's Clawson. Wow. Wow. No wonder. Yeah, that's true. That is true. I shouldn't expect them to be working just because we are. Here's one that's been on the market 160 days. This has been reduced $50,000 in 160 days. From 180 down to... Hello?
Hello?
Hi, Kitty?
Yes.
Hi, Kitty. This is Wendy with Keller Williams Realty. How are you today?
Okay.
Hey, I was calling about your listing on Nelson. Is that still available?
Yes, it is. Would you like to get into it?
Well, it's pretty easy to show then?
It is easy. It's vacant.
Okay, excellent. Well, hey, I noticed it's been listed for a while, and you've had some big price drops.
Yes. We've been decreasing it as we go along. Let's just look too high to begin with.
Okay. Okay. What do you think the right price should be on it?
A lot of the listings are just, sometimes are just too high.
Yeah. Well, what do you think the right price is? Is it about, don't know that area as well.
I think it's pretty good right now.
Okay. Excellent. Okay.
Would you like me to mark you down for a showing?
Well, yeah, maybe. I got a couple real quick questions for you on it.
Sure.
Is there any chance your seller might do something creative on the property?
I sincerely doubt it.
Okay.
But they've got a mortgage that they have to pay off, so.
Okay. Is it a large mortgage, or do you know?
So it's not. Yeah, they won't take a land contract or anything on it.
Okay. Could they do something like a lease option?
No, they won't do that.
Okay. You're pretty sure on that? Okay. And nothing else creative, no seller financing or anything?
No, no.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kitty. Do you have any other listings where your sellers, might have said something like, gosh, Kitty, if my home doesn't sell soon, I might have to rent it? Anything like that you've got?
No, I haven't run across anybody.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What'd you notice about that call versus when I told her I was an agent? Huh?
Talking to buyer.
Yeah, she's got more.
Oh, I thought she was more open. That's what I was thinking. In the beginning, she was more open, telling me stuff. And then she thought I didn't have a real buyer, because she was like trying to get me a showing. And then I said, I got a few more questions. Yeah, maybe she did. Then she realized, no, I don't have it. But she answered that very quickly and very adamantly. So I don't know if she's had that conversation with him or not. It's hard to ever know.
Why wouldn't you go into the explanation where you could show them how to cover the mortgage? Why wouldn't you?
Why I wouldn't go to show. I didn't go into the explanation of how to cover the mortgage with her. You're right, because I just felt like she was kind of closed to it. I felt she was, so I thought, next. I got like a half an inch of them, I'm like, next one. That's probably why. But could you? Yes, you maybe could have. I just felt like I don't know that she was going to be talked into it.
No, she was close to it.
She was pretty close. Like, no, it was like, oh. Yeah, she didn't say, right. She didn't say, I'm going to talk to them or whatever. No, she really was pretty cold on that. Okay, so what I want you to do tonight, can you make some calls? You got some leads with you. Make at least 5 calls. It's going to take you, how long did it take me to make 5 calls? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? That was it. That's all it took. Okay, and that would include a teaching time in between. So get some calls done. We're going to talk about, Joe, I expect you to make some tonight. Do you have any?
Well, we have a whole bunch.
You got a whole bunch? Awesome. That's right, because you're a real estate agent. You can pull them. Can you pull them yet? Oh, you got someone to pull them?
I know how to look.
Okay, wait, I got to tell you about tomorrow.
Everything else.
Okay, we're starting at 6:30 a.m. What? Why do you think I was kidding? Okay, 8:30 sharp. We are starting in the morning, okay?